Oh, sorry.
Okay, October 25th, Planning Board, we have a hearing. In accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 81T, and Chapter 48, Section 11, notice is hereby given that the Bolton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 25th, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Board of Selectmen room at the Town Hall, 663 Main Street, Bolton, Mass., to hear and act upon the application of D. Bruce Wheeler, trustee of the Tadmore Realty Trust, for definitive subdivision plan and farmland and open space planned residential development plan for property identified on Bolton's Assessor Map 6B as Parcel 3, located on Main Street in Bolton's residential zoning district. The proposed development entitled Tadmore consists of an 11-lot subdivision. Also, in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 11, notice is hereby given that the Bolton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, October 25th, 2017, at 7:30 p.m. in the Board of Selectmen room of the Town Hall, 663 Main Street, Bolton, Mass., to hear and act upon the application of D. Bruce Wheeler, trustee of the Tadmore Realty Trust, for a common driveway special permit for a property located on Main Street, identified in Bolton's Assessor's Map 6B is Parcel 3, located in Bolton's residential zoning district. The proposed common driveway will provide access to 4 lots within the proposed Tadmore subdivision.
I need to recuse myself since I'm in a butter. So I'll be sitting in the audience and speaking, so it wasn't a butter.
Brandon?
All right. Brandon Ducharme, Ducharme Dillis, here tonight also with Greg Roy from Ducharme Dillis and the applicant, Bruce Wheeler. Probably just begin by giving a quick overview on kind of what we filed, go over the project, where we are at this point. We've had some discussions with the review engineer as well as department heads, and then kind of talk about kind of some questions are that have been raised, and also to gain some input and questions from you folks. So as you said, we filed a definitive subdivision, which also incorporates a phosphorus special permit application. This project, because of the size and scope, it's considered a major residential subdivision. We have gone through with the board already preliminary subdivision, at which we presented both a traditional plan, which is a development plan using just traditional zoning right out of the bylaw, as well as an open space plan, which is called a phosphid. And the other special permit that we have applied for is a common driveway, as mentioned. So based upon the feedback we've gotten in the preliminary subdivision decision, we've moved forward with the phosphid open space subdivision concept. And what it consists of, this is the entirety of the piece is about 30 acres, and it's between Main Street, this is the intersection of Green and Forbush and Main. This is the town highway barn here. It's about a 30-acre piece of property. There's a zoning divide that goes through. There's about 20 acres in residential, as well as remaining land here in the business district. This subdivision, because it's a phosphid, obviously it's entirely located within the residential part. We have an 11-lot subdivision, and to do that, we filed for a definitive subdivision, creating this road here, which is a cul-de-sac road, approximately a little over 400 feet in length. And then we have 3 frontage lots on Main Street, which, based again on feedback that we've received through the process in the preliminary, we've got a common driveway that ties into the proposed street here, with one access point onto Main Street. The common driveway is approximately 900 feet in length. As we look at this site as a whole, most of this material was sands and gravels, pretty well draining stuff. It's relatively flat. There's a couple high spots of the site here. As we looked at and incorporated this road design, which is extremely similar to what has been presented in the preliminary phase. Really, not a lot has changed. We've kind of tweaked some of the lots, again, just to kind of make things work with the house locations. In order to do that, we've gone out, we've actually done some additional soil testing. The initial plan kind of set the houses and everything where they were based on the soil testing that we had done to that point in time. So beyond that, because it's a phosphate open space development, we do have a third of the land set aside as open space. It's basically encapsulated in 2 parcels. There's this chunk across from Main Street and kind of wraps down the side here, as well as these are kind of some of the closest abutting homes here. There's a large section of open space here. Based on this layout here, we don't have any impacts to any wetland resource areas. Still River kind of wraps around the site here. This yellow, orange line here rather delineates the 100-foot buffer zone, and this dark blue line is the limit of the 200-foot riverfront area. And as you can see, basically we're able to incorporate all of the proposed development area outside of those areas. There is a portion of wetland resource areas located within the open space, and again, we've provided calculations to demonstrate that we meet the performance standard where up to 25% of the minimum open space required can be wetland resource areas. This layout here also just kind of shows, obviously we've done sufficient soil testing. We show on-site septics and on-site wells, which are all laid out in accordance with Town of Bolton Board of Health regulations. At this point in time, we have received some initial comments from Fred Hamway, who's here also in the audience. We've began to address some of his issues. What we're hoping to do is kind of take feedback from that. We also had a department head meeting last week with fire, police, DPW, conservation, to get some initial comments. We're hoping to kind of do one broad revision to the plan, so we still have to sit down with Fred and just kind of iron out some of the finer details involved. Greg, I don't know if you want to just give a quick presentation on the drainage design.
Sure. Thanks, Brandon. Again, Greg Roy, Sherman Dillis, thanks for having us this evening. It's the drainage, as Brandon said, the site is underlaid primarily with what we call a Class A sand and gravel soil, so it's with a fairly deep depth of groundwater over most of the site. So we've taken advantage of that by looking to infiltrate runoff on the site. There's if you could point to the drainage basin, Brandon, there's an area right down, and this is the same area we identified on the preliminary plan, that is actually an old borrow pit. It's an old sort of gravel pit that's a really nice, I don't want to call it natural because it was excavated, but it's a nice area that exists today that is a fairly easy place on the site to manage the stormwater. So we are proposing to do that. We did some soil testing in the bottom of that basin, suspecting that maybe some of the good sand and gravel had been excavated out, which indeed it has. So we have designed although the balance of the site is a Class A soil, the underlying soils in the bottom of that stormwater area more closely resemble a Class B soil. So we've modeled our exfiltration rates, or the rate at which the stormwater will infiltrate back into the ground accordingly. But we can still manage all of the stormwater from the road and most of the common driveway and a lot of the rooftop areas in that area on site, so it sort of works out pretty well from that standpoint. There are a few areas where we needed a little bit of additional stormwater management, which we did in a sort of a decentralized approach. I'm not sure the lot numbers, but the 3 lots on the end of the cul-de-sac, those,
3, 4, and 5.
maybe there's 4, I can't remember.
3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, that one. Yep, 3, 4, and 5. Those will infiltrate the roof, so we'll capture the roof runoff and we'll infiltrate those using a recharge system. Again, sort of a decentralized approach. So we have a standard pipe and gutter and pipe catch basin system to drain the road pavement, which then flows into the stormwater management area. Along the common driveway, we have a swale, thanks, Brandon, I guess I'll call it the southerly side of the driveway, opposite Main Street, where we will collect the runoff from that surface, paved surface, and then it'll be translated down through the storm drain system back down into that centralized basin. I think that covers it. So we've, just to close this out, we have received some preliminary comments from Fred. We appreciate that. We are working through those. And we also did receive some comments this evening from Ms. Spicer, so we appreciate those. I didn't get a chance to really look in depth at the ones you received this evening, but I don't see anything that's really too earth-shattering. Perhaps Danielle will speaking as in the butter, of course, may have some things to add on that. But I don't anticipate any real major concerns there. So what, as Brandon indicated, what we would really like to do is look at these from a global standpoint, take any comments that you folks have, any comments that the abutters raised this evening, comments we've received from the department head last week in our meeting, as well as Fred and the other memos on the drainage, and sort of put it together in one large plan revision, which we've begun working on, but we will finish after this meeting is complete.
I don't see comments from Fred here, but was it in the packet?
No, I sent them directly to them. There's a lot of, there's technical comments and there's just administrative comments. I wanted to get rid of a lot of those that were clerical and referencing type things from one plan to another. So I gave them initial, he called it preliminary, my initial review of it. And after we sit down and discuss that and they change it, I would do a second review based on those comments, and then submit that to the town along with the plan board, along with Deshawn.
Do you have any concerns or thoughts you want to add now, or?
No, like you said there, everything can be taken care of. Half of them, just to give a number, were administrative, if you want to call it that. And I say that because in construction, when I'm out there, I like to have all those things as tight as can be, so it's not questions between the contractor and myself, and it's pretty tight. There's some technical ones that I think they might agree with. If not, we will discuss them. Some of them had to do with the stormwater management that Danielle can speak about too, and I want to talk about the same thing that she's going to talk about, which is the infiltration basin and the water quality infiltration itself.
Hi, what is Fred's role? I'm sorry,
Well, state your name.
yeah, I'm Dave Russell.
He's the town engineer.
Oh, okay, I had no idea.
Yeah,
Thank you
sorry.
very much.
Board, have any questions?
So on the open space, is that going to be owned by the homeowners association, or is that going to be passed off to Conservation Trust or somebody like that?
Yeah, so we've begun talking about that, and I think really the desire is to basically give it to town. And
Okay.
usually it ends up being managed by the Conservation Commission or something like that, but yeah.
Can the drainage basin be in the open space that the town gets?
It can be in the open space. I guess there's two ways we could make that a separate, I guess it's just a matter of easements.
So yeah, it is
Yeah.
allowed, and it's like on Northwoods, for instance, the larger basin there off of, I think that's Ledgewood, is within the open space. Obviously, it could be the town that's going in to maintain it, so it'll basically be on their property. So. Now, the only thing as you look at the regulations is there's an exemption where we have to back that out of the open space calculation. So it is allowed, but they don't let you take that credit.
Right.
So is that included in your overall percentage or not?
It is, and as we kind of talked about in the preliminary, I think we're asking for that waiver, given by the fact that we've got another large piece of open space set aside on business, but because it's a phosphid subdivision and we can't use that in our credits, we're asking for that waiver basically to have that basin be allowed within that open space.
And then I think we would definitely want to set up an easement, because we don't want the
Oh,
town
yeah.
to be owning something that you're gonna be
Yeah,
maintaining.
no, there's all easements on the plans.
The pl-
Don't state any.
I misspoke on that actually, because I was thinking if we own the open space, and we're gonna own the, we have to maintain the basin anyway, I don't think there is a need for an easement. If the open space were owned by someone else.
What are you saying? They're gonna,
No, eventually the road and the
Right.
stormwater system will be
right, oh, because it's a
deeded to the
public road.
town. Right, and
Yeah,
we'll have to maintain it.
because it's part of the public road infrastructure,
Right,
right?
I think the easement's sort of a moot point.
No, it's different than if it was gonna be private.
Right.
Hi, Danielle Spicer, 195 Wilder Road. I did submit a letter with just some technical stuff. I don't need to go over that in detail if you've already got it. I think the couple things I had questions on, or the bigger, most of it's small. I think, you know, you can just look through the comments, let me know if you have any questions. I think the one item I just wanted to ask is, with the seasonal high groundwater, there were 3 test pits that were done in the
Yep.
basin. One of them had plenty of depth. One of them had 2 feet where it was taken, but it's, you've got kind of a basin that slopes down.
Yeah,
So I was just concerned with that test pit shows seasonal high groundwater higher than your actual bottom elevation. So you could have your groundwater coming into your basin and taking up area that, you know, your calculations aren't showing. So I don't know if you
Yeah.
can look into that and see, either if you want to do a mounting analysis and show that it's not gonna.
I think we owe you a mounting analysis.
Okay, I think
Um,
that would answer
yeah.
the questions, if you can do a mounting
Yeah.
analysis and then just show that it's not gonna break into the basin and that all the
Okay.
volume you're showing and providing, that would be good.
Gotcha.
The one question I had was, I love the fact that you're doing 3 infiltration roof trenches for 3 of the houses.
Mhm.
Can I ask why you're not doing them for all of the houses?
Really just relates to the fact that we got the runoff from the other ones to the basin, so we'd be infiltrating it anyway, so we just kind of let it.
Okay, so all of the other houses eventually sheet flow?
Right, there might be a couple of roofs where we missed the back,
Okay,
but
so those 3 in particular?
those 3 in particular would bypass the basin completely.
Okay.
So we.
You're able to capture and collect
Right,
them. So the only thing there is if you can just provide some sizing for how you guys size the
Sure.
chambers, because
Yeah.
they're showing there.
Yep.
Just some backup calculations for that. And then just a couple other details I think I had on here. Those were my main comments with regard to the stormwater stuff. Again, I think the project looks great as a whole with regard to meeting the standards, and really using that phosphid component is nice. The one comment I would have, I read the fire department's comments, and I know that they are looking for wider pavements. I, on the other hand, would like to see smaller widths. I know it's a little bit of a balancing act. I don't know if there's a way to do 20 feet paved and just a couple shoulders that are flat but could be easily driven over, that are I don't know, like a grass surface or something, to maybe appease the fire department.
Winter, but
Yeah, I mean, I
that
hate,
snowbanks,
Yeah.
that grass doesn't.
that's true,
doesn't buy you
yeah.
anything, So,
Well, so I was just actually gonna bring up that email and talk through it. So the firefighting water supply, so how are we dealing with that?
So basically, we're gonna deal with that the way we have with a lot of the previous ones, is a cistern, which is the standard detail that's provided by the
Okay.
town, where I think it's 25,000 gallons. It's serviced by a well, this control structure. So really, the conversation, we're just waiting to get together with the chief, is to figure out where exactly he wants us to put it. And that's why it's not on. We've got a couple of ideas, but again, we kind of want to get, he's the one, obviously, going to.
So the cistern that handles all 11?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is that gonna be on someone's property, or?
It could. So, just to kind of give you a couple of examples, like Northwoods, for instance, has one, there's, 36 homes up there, and that one it's on the front of one of the lots, there's an easement. Century Mill, I think there are 2 of them up there for the 78 lots. And again, the 2 that are in now are both on someone's lot with an easement in the front. So So it's certainly consistent with what's been done. I mean, as I look at it, I mean, I think, kind of towards the front, there is some open space here, maybe they could put something here as they come into the site. It kind of gives that centralized access to both the common driveway and down as they look at running hose to a fire. But ultimately, I guess we're kind of leaving that decision up to the chief, yeah.
So you talk size with the chief then, or?
That's a standard detail that they have. So basically, they provide the spec on if they want, which it's sized basically to fight one fire or
Yeah.
one house. And in terms of the lot width, it is a balancing act, so to say, where we're balancing low-impact development, reducing our pavement widths, trying to reduce the overall drainage and that sort of thing, as well as, safety concerns. And again, the width of this road, the layout of the road is consistent with, North Woods and all the other phosphors that was.
And 20 feet.
Yeah. So you can certainly drive, any of those and get a feel for what it's going to be like.
One thing I just want to point out with respect to fire access, that we are asking you for a waiver from the requirement to put a center island in the cul-de-sac. And that is for two reasons, really. It's for fire, it's just easier to get a fire truck apparatus around that. And it's also for, ultimately for your DPW, for the sanity of your DPW department plowing it. It's rather difficult to plow that.
Most of the waivers you have are kind of just looking at the last 15, 20 years of subdivisions. For instance, Century Mill, where they actually have the granite that's required, the high granite, and the center islands. That's the problem they're having now, is in order to get in and around plow those out, it's extremely difficult. Looks nice, for sure,
So the other thing with the 20 feet, we have a little bit of a curve there, but we don't have any kind of negotiating challenge. It's sort of a straight shot in for a fire truck. And I get the fact that could be somebody parked inside the road, or maybe they need to stage some vehicles, but versus something that's more of a, with a curved line, and it's rather short too. It's only 450 feet or something.
Yeah, less than that.
The common driveway is 20 feet wide as well?
No, the common is 12 feet with your shoulder. It's right out of your regs.
Yeah.
How long is the common driveway?
It's about 900 feet.
So is that's up to the turnaround?
That's
Oh,
up to the turn.
yeah. Why did you- That seems long, okay.
You require a pull-off in there? I don't really see.
Yes, there's a pull-off right here, kind of in the middle,
Okay,
and then this is the turnaround there at the turns.
okay. What is the rule on pull-offs? Every how many feet?
300.
I think it's
300.
So if that's 900, it looks like you might be.
It's not 900, if you look at the roads
I think it's
450,
6.
it's only 500-600 feet,
Oh,
right?
okay.
I think it's 600, but it might be 900 to the last. What Brandon might be referring to is from
To the
the,
driveway.
a lot of times we'll measure it from the worst case, so from the center line where Main Street, where the new road meets, if you measure along the center line of the road and then along the driveway up to the last house garage, that could be 900 feet.
Yeah.
Your regulations do talk about to the furthest point also, even though it's not, it
Yeah.
becomes the private driveway, the end of it.
Right.
What else do they say? Retaining the street light at the intersection of the main road. Is that?
So again, we've asked for those waivers, which are consistent with other subdivisions, but I will say, based on the department head meeting we had, both the fire and police chief, one of their concerns is having a light, at least at this end, so
Yeah.
as they're approaching it. And
I mean, it's.
we're certainly not against it, so, I guess we'll keep the waiver for the end, to have the light,
Yeah.
because what's the purpose concern, but certainly, we want to do the same thing, which is illuminate the front, where the road comes off Main Street.
And there's nobody right up front there that, it doesn't seem like anyone would be really bothered by it.
No,
Well, it should be down lighting anyway, that
Yeah,
won't impact
yeah.
people. Yeah, I think it's one thing for like Northwoods where it's on a back road.
yeah.
On Main Street, I think having better visibility is probably pretty
Yeah.
important,
Yeah.
so.
So that's what we said, that for public safety perspective, the sidewalk should be retained, but I think we talked about moving.
Yeah, I think that was an initial,
Yeah.
some of those comments, I think, are from the preliminary.
Yeah, this is
but,
pretty
um,
early. Yeah.
So that was one of the things we did add, so we have the sidewalk.
Oh, but so we talked about adding a sidewalk to the corner though? Well, actually, I can see that there now.
Yeah, so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
That's been the only thing is kind of, when we were in the preliminary process, the the designation we had on that, and the idea was a walking path,
Mhm.
you know, a meandering walking path in particular, where, you know, really, it was gonna kind of be set in off the
Yeah,
road
that's-
in the woods,
Yep.
more consistent with kind of what was done at Houghton Farm, a nature
Are you
trail.
talking about paving
So
it, or?
we're- So, no, so we weren't thinking of like an ADA compliant paved sidewalk or anything
Mhm.
like that. It was really just gonna be more of a, you know, bringing in maybe stone dust or
Mhm.
wood chips or something like that, obviously, so
Mhm.
it's maintained, I mean, you could ride a bike on it, but
Is that reasonably flat right there?
really, the only section where, you know, it gets steep is kind of right in here.
I mean, mobility-wise, are we okay with that, or we wanted to have ADA compliant paths, or?
I think I would prefer to see something that's closer to a sidewalk, just because you are along Main Street. But, you know, it really is up to the board. At a minimum, I think it should be a stone dust path,
Mhm.
something that, you know, can be maintained
Right.
long term.
Danielle Spicer, 195 Wilder again. Just my two comments with that. You do have some grade change where this meandering path is shown. So to make it ADA, I think you would have a lot of potential switchbacks, which might not be desirable. If you put the sidewalk adjacent to Main Street, you can just follow the natural grade of the road, and that's considered acceptable. But then you would want it to be a concrete sidewalk, you know, I mean, so it's kind of two completely different paths. I think
Yeah.
you need to figure out which one is more desirable, which one is one. But I would say if you're having the meandering path through the site, that doesn't necessarily need to be ADA compliant, nor would you necessarily want it to, just because of the topography.
So that's kind of what the discussion was before, because we
Yeah.
talked about, you know, running a sidewalk right down the edge, and just based on the speed limit and traffic through there,
Yeah,
you know, it kind of seemed like, 'cause I mean, obviously, it's the high school. It's
I mean,
not-
it is nicer
Yeah, you
being
kind of,
away.
I mean, anybody can use it, but, you know, hopefully, you know, kids
Do
will
the
be able to walk to
kids, yeah,
school.
yeah.
It would be kind of nice to get them in off the road a little bit. Again, when you start thinking about pavement and ADA, you know, what's the likelihood of there being a sidewalk down the whole end? You know, I know in front of the Regency, you know, on the north side, you know, they've got, you know, quote unquote sidewalk to know where kind of set up
Right.
on that side. I don't know what the master.
So-
plan is, but-
I see that you have it, I'll get to you in a minute. I see that you have it up a little bit further. Could you bring it closer, the entrance, like a little bit closer to the road? So it seems like more of like a public walkway. I don't know. I don't know what the topography is there, if that makes sense at all.
It makes sense, but to be honest, I mean, really, when we looked at what the benefit is and what the path's used for, it's probably less as a public. And I don't see anybody parking here to walk down.
No.
You know, it really is for the residents here. I mean, this is a section of open space.
Yeah, I think people are even thinking,
You know, people to
live in the neighborhood.
be able to
behind.
come through and be able to get down to the pizza place.
Yeah,
or, you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, that's fine.
I see it more as something like that.
I think, did we also talk about potentially like a staging area for the school bus? I mean, I think that came up, I don't,
I think it
because there was an issue at Century Mill, I remember, you know, where the kids could stand, being right at the, especially during construction times with big trucks. I
Yeah.
don't know what's close to the road there, if there's a flat area or something that could be.
Anything can be flattened.
It kind of drops in from.
It's just something to think
Yeah.
about. I know it was an issue later on at Century Mill, like where the kids get picked up because the buses didn't want to go in while there was construction for a couple of years or whatever, so something to think about.
Hi, Corinne Mackey, 167 Wilder Road. I'm a neighborhood abutter, although I'm not a direct abutter, and have had over 20 years of being able to meander through the woods over to Classics and the post office and whatnot. So I have been interested in being able to maintain that kind of access. So I like the idea of the meandering path as opposed to a sidewalk that abuts the road, because even sidewalks, having walked down Main Street
Yeah.
on a sidewalk is really a precarious,
Yeah.
particularly scary experience.
Yeah.
So, for what it's worth, I would favor that. Now, my other question is, if the open land, which I guess is in the most south part of the parcel, at some point may be open to the public. What is the access for the public to get to that? Is there a sliver that goes to the roundabout that I'm not seeing?
Yeah, it does tie into the
It
other
does.
cul-de-sac here, yeah.
This plan, actually, I don't know if this will help a little bit, but color this up. This kind of colors the 3 open space parcels. Maybe a little bit more. I don't know if you can see that from here.
So right now, this is an existing trailhead that heads into Wilder Brook, and I know that's been
Yes.
a conversation with the neighborhood and the Trails Committee. This is the proposed road. This open space will basically incorporate that trailhead, and wraps behind all these houses, provides kind of a buffer between this development and the existing development, but it does incorporate right up into the end of the cul-de-sac.
Let's see.
So there would be public access all the way through the site, utilizing the blue area, and then the sidewalk, which would commence right here at the open space and wrap all the way around to the front, and then you'd have a connection through that frontage open space there, so it's a contiguous, publicly accessible connection, given that the open space would be, is intended to be given to the town.
So, just Danielle Spicer again. So this path is gonna be a new path, is that right? That goes, it's gonna connect to the existing path over here. Be a new path all along go the backside of the pond, and then it will connect up to the rotary, you walk along here, and then you do the meandering path this way?
So the other thing I will say on that, and that's kind of what we've suggested, looking at it, it kind of makes sense as far as mobility to the site. Just walking that open space, it kind of makes sense. But we are acknowledging, I mean, obviously I've had several discussions with Dave Russell, and I know there's been ongoing discussions with Trails Committee, so we've suggested that, particularly where we're looking to have the open space go to the town. The final location of that, I guess, is, can be tweaked, between them.
We actually anticipate adding that, sort of some language to that effect in the revised plans, because I think we say designed by others on that or something.
It does say by others.
By others?
Yes.
Our intention is to communicate with Brandon, saying that, the ultimate disposition of the open space, which would go to the town, we're certainly open to, if the Trails Committee or some other entity has a strong opinion for where that trail wants to go through land that they're gonna ultimately own anyway, we're open to that.
You say the design may be by others, but the construction of it would still be
Yeah, it's
part of
intended
this,
to be,
it's still
right,
part
right.
of this job?
Right,
Okay.
so that's, we need to clarify that a little bit.
Okay.
What we're intending to say
Gotcha.
there is the final location.
Is by the, can be,
is-
okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a question on the trail. Dave Russell, 115 Wilder Road. So the trail thing seems like a bit of a curveball. I don't know what entity would choose where the trail is going to go? Would it be this entity, or would it be the Conservation Commission? Would it come down the road? Would we know where that's going to be? Would we have any protections for our homes in terms of any kind of like a vegetated buffer or anything on those
Yeah,
lines?
so we have your letter here, where you're concerned about,
Number one,
because which one of these is your house? Is that your house right there?
I'm wondering,
So you're just worried about people rolling up in your backyard?
well, it's like,
Yeah.
it's 20 feet off my
Yeah.
property right there. I just, I'm not opposed to it, I just want to understand where it's going to go and if we could potentially have a vegetated buffer. I just don't like the uncertainty of
So this
kicking a
particular,
can down the road.
so this particular trail was suggested by conservation because you're cutting off. There isn't a trail there now, right? But there's a trail
There
that
is
goes.
some sort of a trail.
There's an existing trail that basically comes in,
And then goes
somewhere around
off,
here. 'Cause-
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But it doesn't go all the way through there, where it is now, or it does?
No, I mean, Dave can certainly provide more information to me. This is, I guess what we're kind of way to is kind of hashing all these things out. Now, I think the easement kind of cuts through here, and that's been one of the concerns when they're trying to relocate that, because, and I guess as we talk entity and everything, you know, from the definitive perspective, is we're looking to give the open space in town.
Yeah.
And really, if the Concom holds that, they'll usually work with the Trails Committee, and that's who's working on this now.
Right.
And I just know from talking with Jeff, I mean, they don't have any desire to put a trail so close, you know, where it's gonna be a nuisance to a butter, which is, there's been other areas in town, let's just say we've had those issues, and nobody's using those trails. You know, so, I think that's where the discussion has started, and it's kind of pretty much been involved around that issue.
I think my position, sorry, again, as an abutter, I think my position would be, if we're gonna do a trail, it just would be better if we just have like a defined trail system established and to sort of understand where these trails are gonna go. I know some of my neighbors, like Chris and the Scotts, just would like to know, because there's an existing trail now from our properties to Forbush, that's gonna be wiped out by this. So if we're gonna create a trail system, we should try to plan it out or just have it created. Like the trail on the Wilder Pond Trail really doesn't go anywhere right now. And that's primarily because they don't have any funds to really finish that trail. It really started in 1994. So it just would be nice if we, you know, if we have this impact, if we could just try to figure out where this trail is gonna go and make sure that it's built, you know, I would be fine with that. But it doesn't make sense to not really flush that out now.
Yeah, I mean, typically we don't, like, in the planning board, do trails in open space, but we can ask conservation to weigh in on it, right?
Oh, certainly, this should be part of your decision.
Okay.
But Conservation and Trails
Yeah.
Committee should be weighing in on the location.
Still
I
have
think
them work with the
Yeah, I
developer.
mean, I think the intent is, with the way that Duchamp's laid it out, is
Yeah.
that, you know, the trails will be open space.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
And then walk along the cul-de-sac, and then it's the meandering path, which will get you to Forbush. That was sort of the intent.
And the homeowners have a better idea of, I haven't been in that particular area, maybe even Danielle could say something, but I don't know if there's natural barriers there from the land or not, or if it's quite open or what. I mean, I haven't been back there,
I
so.
mean, you can, I've walked some of it, but you
I
can,
think
yeah.
Chris would know more than.
Yeah, so Chris Little, 117 Wilder, not on that map, but very close. I've got a corner there in my house, it's not on that map. You got it, right there. So it's difficult right now because of the topography where the drainage basin is.
Right.
There's not a real, the path does end coming from Main Street near David's house, and so there's no connectivity right now. It's kind of scraggly, not scraggly, woods. And the ground is uneven, to say the least, where that proposed drainage pond is right now. So that's the way it stands right now.
And there's an existing trail that goes to Forbush, and the only other potential is to go close to Spicer's house along the
On the
Still
pond,
River setback.
on the backside of the pond.
Yeah.
You just-
and
you
to
gotta
go- I have
cross.
no idea what it's like, I don't know if it's really hairy down there,
It's-
it's marshy
it's-
and it's really
Well,
yucky.
The topography
There
is very
used to
difficult.
be a trail that was very accessible, that went to the left side of the pond.
It's not accessible at all now, I will say that,
But
but.
it's not been, I think there's a house on the other side now.
Okay.
So I think I should continue to clarify. There is, so there's no trail where the one that's proposed or in that plan is right now. There is another trail which cuts along the property line between the Scotts. So we've got that orange outline, and then you've got a diagonal directly to Forbush through the open space now. Can someone point out where this is? Yeah, I don't
There's one that kind of comes through here, yeah.
So
It's on the property.
it cuts somewhere through here and then eventually makes its way through the other open space section over to Forbush.
And that
So-
just dead ends at the pond?
No, it
goes to
goes to the pond and then it goes to
But on
Forbush,
the other
actually
side,
sort of by the
on the other
reverse
side.
line.
There's a,
Well, it cuts through,
Trail
here.
But I'm saying it's just pretty much from the neighborhood out. It's not connected to the other side.
Well, essentially it comes through, actually down my property line and hits our common driveway over
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
And there's multiple paths, like throughout all of ours, you know, for walking within the neighborhood, but,
I mean, on paper, this plan looks good, but you will just have to get conservation and the Trails Committee to weigh in as part of this.
And, I mean, it sounds like the stormwater retention plan is gonna come into play as well. So I think that those things need to be decided side by side, where that trail is along with how that, yep, go ahead, David.
Yeah, can I just ask a question about the stormwater detention? Greg, my apologies, I have not really looked at your definitive.
It's okay.
Are there details or cut sheets or any kind of like a section of what the detention, are you guys gonna do anything on it? Or is it just gonna take what's like there naturally and just?
We're gonna use the shape of the basin, except that the only thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put a berm on the outlet
You
side.
gotta create that stuff on
you
that.
kind of see, this is.
There is, to answer your question, basic question, there is some specs on it.
This is made out the
Okay,
same,
okay.
and then it looks like it's gonna be
Yeah.
brought up on one side to make it a full pond.
So you won't see anything, that berm actually will not come up to the full height,
No.
the full rim.
Right, because it's pretty high up.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. So from your house and the Littles and the Scotts, you shouldn't see that berm from where, maybe Scott, obviously through the woods, but.
Yeah.
Besides the berm, is there any area that you see that's particularly open to the neighbors that you can add some type of vegetative buffer or something along the edge of the
Well,
property?
we're actually, I mean, vegetative buffer wise, sorry to speak out of turn, Brandon, but we're actually, we'd only be clearing the trees right at the edge of that, so this
Yeah.
would all be vegetated.
How many feet's that?
What scale is this one?
1 inch is 60.
60, so you're probably 50 feet right there at the narrowest point,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 60 in there.
So if the trail hugged, if it hugged
And
the
again, we
detention
wouldn't
basin.
propose clearing trees for these trails.
Right,
I mean,
just
significant
wind
trees.
through,
Yeah.
yeah.
We'd be like brush
Yeah,
clipping the, you know,
yeah, yeah.
sort of,
So it seems like you have 30, 40 foot gap. Again, I don't know what the land looks like exactly there, so.
it gets a little,
Well, it would definitely be uphill of our properties if it's on the edge of any kind of berm right there.
yeah.
The other question I had was whether there's going to be vegetation removal in the, you were saying you're going to remove the brush around the detention pond or the trail or both?
Within the detention basin, we'd be removing the vegetation.
Okay, all
But along
vegetation
where we do the trail, we would not propose, like, we propose not to remove any significant trees. It would more just be like typical trail construction where you might be removing brush and that kind of thing, but, and, you know, clipping down, doing some
Limbing
limbing, but not significant tree removal in there. So the canopy, it would look very similar. It would just be a defined place to walk.
Well, and just Danielle Spicer, Wilder Road again. Just one thing I would recommend is once it can, whether it's Conservation Trails Committee and whatever, whoever the group is, to kind of finalize the location of the plans, before anything gets approved, it would almost be good to have it staked out so you could walk it and really see where, I mean, because I've done multiple things where it looks great on paper and then when you go in the field, it's completely different. And when you stake it out, now you can really see, okay, we really want to move it 10 feet this way, we want to move it 20 feet that way. So that would be, I think, very comforting for the abutters to see it. You know, I know you can't do that till you have a more finalized layout, but it would be great if we could see it staked out before it kind of moves into construction.
Yeah, Dave Russell, again, just following on that comment, it's been a while since I've been in a planning board meeting, but do you guys typically do like site visits in the morning of
we do site
meetings or?
Oh, I mean, not, we set the time.
Yeah, but you do actually on site?
Yeah, we'll do a site
visits?
visit, definitely.
Okay, I was just curious if that happens. And the other question I had too is there's, I mean, Greg knows I've sort of hounded him about this a couple times, but there is a lot of fill that's been stockpiled next to the Scots land and sort of in back of my land from the gravel pit. That's killing, it looks like, you know, a series of 100-foot tall pine trees that are about 20 feet from my property. So I just wanted to know if that was going to be incorporated at all in their construction designs or if there's anything on that at all.
Where is that?
So we, It's over here, and I guess just talking to Bruce a little bit, we were able to get a copy of your letter from Erica. And I guess the best way we'd deal with that is Bruce can kind of work with you offline on that.
Okay.
And kind of what
Sure.
we can do.
That's fine, as long as this address would be great.
Have you even gone as far as staging areas where,
For our staging areas for the construction of the road? Yeah, basically, I think it's probably an erosion control sheet, but it's a relatively short, it's 400 long cul-de-sac. Unlike some of the other subdivisions where, there's different phases and everything.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, you're not gonna be up in the back here.
no,
staging.
we have a limited clearing defined on the plan, so we'd be within that. We'd probably be staging on a lot, I think,
Okay.
for the bulk of the road construction, because it's such a tight area. So I think this construction
On these
stage.
side ones, or?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
Yeah.
depends on the contractor. I mean, every contractor's gonna have, you could ask 10 contractors how they're gonna build it, you'd probably get 10 different answers. But I think you'd be staging on a lot for doing stockpiling and things until you had road construction.
But as part of getting the detention basin, you look at
Yeah, the
clearing out
detention-
some of the debris that was left there when the basement was created.
Yeah, the
How
idea,
many years
part of
ago?
the low-impact development is basically, the reason why we're using this is to kind of not come in here and shelf out this
Right, yeah.
huge thing.
Yeah.
Please don't
It's
say that.
it's aesthetics with the whole subdivision. Nobody wants to look at the detention pond, basically. These guys are gonna be a lot closer. So, really, as far as staging, I can see them staging right here on lot 6, and the only access they're really gonna clear is the access that's gonna be involved to get in here and be able to build the berm.
Right.
Which is ultimately gonna be the permanent access to quote-unquote maintain that berm, so,
Yep.
and the detention pond and everything, so.
Now, is that gravelled, the access?
Yeah, most of it, actually, we're co-locating with that driveway, that.
Yeah, so at least you come down this driveway
And then a small little stretch down the end of that driveway to get down in there.
Martha?
Martha Remington, private citizen. I would like to request that the turnaround at Goose Pond Path be planted with trees. If you go to places where they have a circle and it goes back out, and it's not planted with trees, they tend to get really ratty and awful looking and nobody's maintaining them. So I
So-
was thinking maybe a few conifers.
They were actually, so you're talking about the main road?
Yeah. and
They were
maybe
talking
where there's a
about,
circle.
yeah, I think you just walked in, they were talking about potentially not putting a center island.
And this is completely all paved.
So a couple things, we obviously have street trees around the outside of the turnaround, but eliminating the center
I
aisle,
think
which is basically a
Oh,
DPW
that's
is,
since the preliminary then.
He's talking about.
Hmm?
That's since the preliminary.
yes, yeah, that's
Yes.
newer.
So what's it going to be?
Pavement.
pavement.
It's all, this is all.
The whole thing is pavement? I
Yes.
think that's unacceptable. This is a wildlife area, and I also had a question, not to deviate from that point. This is between Forbush Mill and DPW, and the conservation trail where Still River comes under the road, and there's an old Lancaster, this is now a historical commission thing, Lancaster Railroad burn.
Can
It
you
comes
point
down
on-
to some
can
of
you-
those.
can you
This is
point on-
railroad right here.
Okay, that's what you're talking about, okay.
So, I mean, that's a pretty wide area, and there is wildlife in there. And I object to blacktopping that entire circle. I think that's out of character, and why would you do that?
I think it was
So, again,
and
it's us,
fire.
we're trying to balance all the comments. The big one right now, and the complaint has been on similar subdivisions in town. The DPW says they basically can't plow it. And that's kind of what got brought up last week. I mean, they're at we have a new DPW.
I think as a board, we can go either way, we'll listen to the DPW and,
Does Brandon, what's the size of the cul-de-sac, Brandon?
What's that?
what's the diameter?
footage? Diameter?
I think
Yeah,
it's
it's not,
60, right?
well,
I mean, that is a pretty big,
it's whatever your regs are, outer diameter, and then we just eliminated the center. I think it's 50
So
foot
it's
radius.
not, you didn't decrease it and make
No.
it smaller because we got rid of the,
Correct, no. I didn't. I think it's 50 foot radius.
I believe so too. Your property line 60, I believe.
I mean, to that point, it might not need the full.
At the end of the comment, it's what, 30 by 30? Is that what that is?
Common driveway.
Yeah, you could turn a fire truck in a lot smaller spot, to your point.
So you can, so I guess there's two options. We can decrease the diameter of that circle and have no island, or keep it that it is and maybe put an island.
The point is, they have a lot of just pickup trucks with plows that do plowing. And it's just so much nicer if you have something planted there. It's a habitat for birds, and you're not just looking out over blacktop, which is impermeable. And so this is between then that conservation trail and the DPW.
Well, can you see the map? I mean.
No, I can't see the map, that's why. So is that on the right, Brandon, is that the conservation trail? Way over to your thumb on the right?
This here, yeah. This
Yeah,
is
okay,
the bridge
so-
there, that's the trailhead that kind of comes in.
I mean, this is a habitat, and I think that if you can not have that all blacktopped, it's just healthier for the area.
Just Danielle Spicer, just my one comment, I definitely, like the minimization of blacktop. I would like the idea though, if you're going to have it all paved, if you can reduce it
Yeah.
and not have it be the full amount, you could use more of that as planting other things around it.
If you reduced it, say 10 feet all the way around, which 40-foot radius is probably enough
That's a
for
lot
a
of
fire
pavement.
truck, you would actually be reducing more pavement, I think, than what, that 10-foot strip around the outside would be more pavement than what you're adding in the center.
And it allows
So that's-
still some of the flexibility that the fire trucks need.
Right, I think 40 feet would probably do, I mean, we could certainly do a turning movement analysis on that.
I guess the bottom line too, it's driving distance comes from the DPW to the fire, so.
Yeah, I guess I'd
We'll
want.
do whatever, I mean, obviously, I think an island looks better too, you know what I mean? But the pushback we're getting on all these is,
Well,
I also know growing up, that's where we all played too. I mean, even though we all had yards, that's where street hockey was.
yeah, yeah.
The little cul-de-sac.
Yeah, little cul-de-sac, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and the nets just end up on the side, going around playing and, but
One other point, is there going to be salt used there, road salt? I mean, if you have,
It's a public road, so whatever they use on the public roads.
well, the thing is, salt is not for the environment, and this huge thing without some trees in the
I mean,
middle.
this is
It's just
discussion for
unsightly.
DPW and.
It's simply
and selectmen
unsightly.
to,
Yeah.
you know,
And so the railroad then I spoke of is not incorporated at all, Brandon, into any of this property?
It's in the open space.
Part of the open space.
Yeah, so basically, we're looking to kind of preserve that,
Okay.
yeah.
If you want to show them.
You know, in fairness to Brandon
Comes in.
in fairness to Brandon and the property owner, this lot 3 was actually encroaching, I'm sorry, the Wilder Pond Railroad Trail was encroaching on lot 3. So the parking lot for the Wilder Pond Trail was actually on lot 3's property prior to this happening, and now it's being deeded over to the town. So that's a good thing, I would say.
Mr. Chairman, and that's because of poor design in the Wilder Road properties that were put in there. One other point. The trail that's going to go down to Forbush Mill and potentially allow access for youngsters in this development to get to Neshoba Regional High School. That will happen, right? And who will maintain that? And
Well,
will it be
it's gonna be in the
black
plans.
topped?
I think we were talking about stone dust. I think that's what we said earlier. You know, I don't think it's gonna be it's not gonna be blacktop, not from what we said, right?
That's not our
We're not
desire.
proposing.
Yeah. I mean, they were talking about our meandering path that is stone dust. I mean, nothing's definite yet. No. But
And also one other thing, when I went to that trail, recently there was a Conservation Commission hearing, I think it was last spring, about an abutter who was there near that conservation trail and wanted to cut a few trees and incorporated the boundary there where the old railroad path is. Because of the drought we had last year, there's the Wilder or Goose Pond, and then there's another pond apparently. It was totally dry. So, obviously you have no control over the weather. But I just wondered, this particular development should not really take away from natural streams, Still River going over into that, flowing down to Forbush Mill.
I mean, that's in the open
There's gotta
space,
be
so I don't think they're
no
touching anything. there.
impediment,
Yeah,
right?
they're not touching anything there, right? Yeah, over in that area?
Well, I mean, doesn't the fact that you're retaining water, I mean, you're not touching anything, meaning,
Well,
I mean, you're building-
the storm runoff is going toward, so the storm runoff for those 3 houses,
Is
how
going
does that
to-
flow?
Toward Forbush, right?
Oh, it goes towards the wetland, I think it goes towards the.
It's gonna continue, basically,
There's
because
a break point. There's a high point right here. Right here. It's kind of like a high point.
I guess what you're
So
asking
it
is
goes
that's
down.
not,
Maybe a water-
I think he's concerned that it's gonna become a swamp, more swampy area.
no, I just wasn't sure what.
Well, I would hate to
you were
see-
saying,
I would hate
does it
to-
change the water flow?
I would hate to see that smaller pond just silted in and not being there for wildlife to use along the,
You mean this pond, right?
Which pond are you talking
yeah, it's not too far
So-
in when you
Yeah,
go down
that's-
that trail.
That's on my
This is the
property,
pond.
Uh-huh.
and I will
Right.
say,
Oh,
every
yeah, I'm talking about-
fall, it does dry up mostly.
Mhm.
But then the ground freezes, and then in springtime, the thing's like 4 to 8 feet deep, depending on where it is. And each year, tweaks a little bit. But my understanding is the actual flow of everything is outside of there.
Okay, so it shouldn't impede that natural flow down to,
We're obligated to design the
Yeah.
stormwater management system to approximate the recharge that exists there today too. So, and that standard is in the stormwater management policy, is there to protect that very thing, so that you're not changing the hydrology of neighboring and off-site streams and wetlands, so.
because there are turtles and things in there
There's about
too.
100 turtles.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, so we have, like we were saying, I think maybe before we came in, it's really good sand and gravel on site. So we have a really good opportunity for infiltration of the stormwater, as a stormwater management design, and that's what we're proposing to do, so.
Thank you.
So I guess, I mean, we should start wrapping this up, but, so waiver-wise, so what were the waivers that you were requesting?
Just one thing.
Oh, okay.
Have you decided, or we will decide if you're gonna have to make that path ADA compliant?
I don't think we decided, I think,
If you do,
yeah,
what will the other one have to be also?
the one in the back?
Yes.
Eh,
Just,
I mean,
just a thought.
trails through.
No, I'm just
open
saying,
space.
just so it doesn't get questioned later.
Yeah, I actually think Conservation Committee had an
Raise a
email.
comment. You
Yeah.
raise a comment in there.
I just want to say, if any ADA required path is going to require a lot of cutting of trees
Right.
to make it. So I don't know if that's necessarily something that would be desirable, because you're
Yeah.
going to have to get the grades right,
Yeah,
you're going to have to cut down a lot.
I mean, if we want ADA compliant, then we should just go with your.
Well, I
Yeah.
just think that, I mean, it's obviously up to them. We have to discuss that with our client, but I don't, if you told us you wanted ADA compliant on that front one, I think it would go by the road.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
what
it-
you said.
I just, to Danielle's point, you might, you might end up deforesting that open space buffer.
I prefer the inland.
The meandering,
Yeah.
The intent was
natural,
always a trail in nature.
Yeah.
yeah, trail.
Yeah, I don't think we need ADA, unless I hear otherwise, but,
Conservation Commission's comment was for the trail to be open space, though, her preference would be a stone dust path, which is different than what Greg was mentioning before, which is just a natural.
because it's open, because it needs access to the public,
Yeah, I mean, the
And
intent
trails.
is to provide as much,
accessible.
provide access that's accessible to more users than just someone that may be extremely healthy and can walk just fine.
Mhm.
It's to expand that.
So I think, yeah, we'll need to get conservation to weigh in on that and to weigh in on the actual path of it. So I think we should start wrapping this up, and do you have something quick?
Just one more quick question, Mr. Chairman. What about lighting? Is this
Well, I rate, so.
path going to be,
No, the only lighting that, well, they're gonna ask for a waiver for lighting up the whole public road. The only one is the emergency services asked for a light right at the intersection of Main Street. But besides that, that would be the only light. Should we talk about waivers or? Yeah. So
So a lot of these waivers is straight out of what we have for the preliminary, if you want to just quickly run through them.
Okay. So they're on the back page or?
Included in the application packet is a letter
Page.
requested waivers. Page 11,
Yeah.
section 3.
Yep.
First one pertains to the rules and regulations for common driveways. The common driveway requirement anticipates a crowned
Yeah.
driveway. Again, it's pretty common. Waiver we requested is basically to super elevate, and again, it's incorporating that drainage swale along one side.
Right, yep. That makes sense.
Another requirement is for existing trees along existing right-of-ways to be located. We certainly don't have any issue with the proposed way, but really asking for a waiver to have to locate all these trees along the entirety of 117. Horizontal and vertical curve alignment. In essence, what the regulation is requiring is that your horizontal curves match your vertical curves. And again, in order to balance cuts and fills, the horizontal curves are different than the vertical curves. And I think Fred weighed in on that a little bit during the preliminary. The road width, which we've talked about tonight, it's a 40-foot right-of-way that's required, and we're actually not asking to reduce that. It's really just a traveled way. 24-foot pavement is required, and we're looking to go down to 20 feet.
Okay.
And again, based on previous subdivisions. Vertical curve, section 52204C. The minimum vertical curve shall not be less than 100 feet. One vertical curve on the proposed road is less than 100 feet. However, it meets the required K value for the crest vertical curve of a lane.
Did you have an issue with that, Fred?
I have an issue, I just think you can make the 100-foot.
Yeah.
I don't see any different, I don't see why we asked for a waiver. It doesn't change the grade much at all.
So this is the incline of the road, or is
It's
When you transition, vertically speaking, when you transition, in this case, we're transitioning from a 2% to a 6% slope, and you have to do that with a, let's call it vertical curve,
okay.
instead of just doing like a,
Yeah.
we can look at that.
Yeah, it looks like even if you have it
And so you
longer,
have to make
less
that
fill.
in 100 feet, is what?
No,
Well-
they require, you can do that, like on highways, they can be 1,000 feet long
Right,
curve, but you need it because of the speed, so
Right.
they shouldn't be sharp
Mhm.
or short either.
So you're saying you think you can do it within 100 feet? That's what you said.
Yes,
Well,
with a
you're-
100-foot minimum.
Your regulations have sort of
Oh,
a
100.
minimum.
Over 100.
Irrespective
At
of-
least 100.
Yeah, I got it.
Theirs is, I think it's 28.
Yeah. To Fred's point, what Fred just said, I mean, you design those things based on what your expected design speed is, what you need for sight distance, and a lot of different other parameters, which we meet, but your regulations have a 100-foot minimum in there, which would be longer than we would otherwise need to meet some of the other parameters. But I mean, we can look at that.
The reason why I say they should change, in my opinion, is I think it doesn't hurt anything in any way, it meets the
Yeah.
requirements, it doesn't set you up for future
Is
requests for the same thing.
this on the common or on the main?
It's on the main.
This is all the main road.
Okay.
I don't think it's a problem.
Okay.
Cul-de-sac we talked about. There's the requirement for the landscape island in the middle. We've asked for a waiver based on feedback from DPW.
I mean, you guys care which way that goes? I mean, you just, whatever the DPW and we say, you'll,
Yeah, I
Again
don't
for that,
think
yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
big difference in cost or anything like that
Okay.
between the two.
Right.
Lighting, we've talked about again. It's required would be at the terminus of the cul-de-sac as well as the intersection, and based upon feedback from public safety, we're looking to eliminate the one on the end of the cul-de-sac, but still having lighting at the intersection of Main and Goose Pond Path. Stormwater management, minimum earth cover on top of a drain line and culvert pipe is 3 feet. A waiver is being requested to allow reduced earthen cover over the top of the culvert under a single-family driveway, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, but I think is it
It's that house right there.
this house here or that?
What's your cover that you're gonna provide?
Might have even been a foot or a foot and a half.
What type of pipe are you using?
So, I think we're using RCP. In the past, we've done ductile iron.
Yeah, that's it.
It's just really overkill. So, I mean, I've done the calcs on a class 3 C76 class 3 pipe will handle the loads on with 1 foot of cover on a road, never mind a driveway. So, it doesn't really, it would just, going 3 feet there would mean that we'd have a swale that's 3 feet deep. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because this is like we're crossing the swale, and
Yeah.
so we just don't need it that deep.
Yeah, I don't think, I'm okay
Actually,
with it less
we'd
than
actually
3
need a
feet, but
4-foot deep swale, because you'd have the depth of,
the pipe.
so it'd just be way overkill. So, we could look at ductile, or I could give you the calcs to show you that a C76 3, class 3 works, or we'll use a 4, class
Okay.
4.
My concern is not so much the strength of it, as much as the closer the surface it is, the more chance of it lifting and frost. So the cover has to do with both the
So,
strength and all.
And
Now,
this is part of the public infrastructure, so that.
no,
No?
that's,
no, even in the road, it's done to 3. I don't have it in my plan in front of me. There's more than one spot.
well, that's not our intention isn't for that. So if that's the case, we're not asking you for a waiver in the public road right away.
Okay, but some of them are under less than 3,
Yeah,
more
so-
than one spot.
Well, we can fix that.
Okay.
The only
I
one
think
that
the
we
pole
need,
system can be lowered, which is,
Okay,
which
so-
we're not opposed to, but but the place we're talking about, and I apologize if that's the case, we can certainly, if we have less than 3 feet of cover over these pipes, we'll fix that.
Uh-huh.
But this driveway, where the swale comes down like this, and it crosses this driveway, we're asking for relief there, because if we're required to have 3 feet of cover over the pipe, and then a 1-foot pipe, you're talking, the swale would have to be way deeper than it would need to be otherwise, to carry the capacity. So that's the only spot we're looking for the waiver.
Okay.
And that would not be part of the public drainage system.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And the town wouldn't be plowing that either.
No.
Yeah.
but as he just said, I only looked at the street drainage, and that's what I was
So-
looking at. There are some that are less than 3.
And that
We'll
can be
fix
lowered, we
those.
can fix those, that's no problem.
I don't even know if you have requirement on the drainage on common driveways.
That's what I'm
of
wondering,
3 feet.
as I'm looking at it.
I think-
I don't remember,
That's on the
remember-
subdivision regs, the 3 feet.
Yeah, I don't, when common driveways, I don't remember discussing that, so.
Well, we've asked for this waiver before, like when we did an open channel on Houghton Farm, where we had the
Yep.
open channel and going to, with the same issue. And we asked for the same thing to allow, and that's where I did the calcs showing the concrete pipe work. Again, it would be a pipe that's in the public right of way, but whether or not the town would be obligated to fix a driveway culvert, I don't know.
It's not in the public right.
Well, this one even isn't, but
Okay.
I'm pointing.
It's gonna be the
to-
homeowners.
I'm pointing the board to a situation when we got the waiver,
Okay.
and it was in the public right of way.
Okay.
So, I think this is a.
Sounds like it might not be an issue.
This is a more cut and dry situation, I think.
So, and then again, we briefly talked about there's open space, may contain the stormwater basement, however, the area shall not be included with the open space. We talked about that, as we are asking for a waiver to that, given the fact that we're providing the additional open space, but it's in the business land.
Excuse me, Brandon.
Yep.
I think when you calc it, you're still at 33.2% when you took out the basin. See the bottom of your calc right there on the plan, the bottom line?
Yeah.
So I thought you have it.
Can I just say why we asked for the waiver?
Okay.
When you go through these calculations, we went through and we calculated the whole open space required, maximum amount that could be wetlands and WRPD, riverfront. Went through the whole thing and came up with our calculations. We're required to have 6.66 acres of open space land, and we end up with 7.13 acres of open space land. And when you back out the stormwater management area, which is 0.43, we end up with 6.7, which is over the 6.66. So you think to yourself, no waiver required. We're just being conservative here because that would be coming out of the upland open space, the area not in the area, so all that, and we would put us slightly under, like a 1/10 of an acre under what we would be required, the minimum open space, upland open space required, if you did the calc. So that's sort of why we asked for that waiver. Are you following me?
I'm following you, but looking at the other way, you have requirement of 25% of the open space can be wetlands, is that correct? Whatever it is?
25% of the minimum open space required.
Right, so there is a minimum open space upland then being 75% or more.
Minimum open space.
75% or less.
There's
75% or more.
There's a minimum open space.
I know what you're saying, I'll have to look at it again, but.
I can walk you through it. It's going to be hard to walk you through it in this.
Right, but we'll sit down about it.
But the bottom line is,
If you need it,
you
then-
end up with more open, backing out that number, you do end up with more open space than is required, without the pond. Right? And that does not include the extra 3.82 that we're adding.
Yeah.
Okay, so you end up with a lot of extra open space than is required on the, as a bulk of the,
Why is that extra 3.82? I mean, that, I thought we decided earlier that... I know, but I thought that, I mean, it seems like we're playing with that now as extra open space.
In
And in
Fosbury-
fact, it was, according to the regulations.
In
it
Fosbury,
needed to be in
they
there.
just can't count that open space towards the overall number. It's gonna be open
Well, but
space.
the number of houses is decided, I mean...
Right. So, but they
In determining the number of houses, they can count the whole, the
Residential.
whole, no,
You can use
total
business.
number of houses, you can use the business area as well.
Yeah.
You can use the business?
No, I
that was
thought-
decided.
no, they took no.
You're saying right now.
Okay. Traditionally, you can, is what I'm.
Right,
is what I'm-
but then-
But, and that determines the number of lots, and then it's a matter of how do you pack those.
Phosphid can only
The
be-
phosphid can only be in residential, but you still have to. kind of
give it.
Give some part of that land.
In the FOS.
Yeah.
we used
But...
We used 3.82 acres of the commercial land to prove that we could have an 11-lot phosphate.
So that's
So-
3
Yeah.
We did
Whatever
not,
it has
the
to
the
be.
board wasn't really in favor of us sort of double dipping there and using that for a commercial, the commercial, so we.
Yeah. But, yeah,
Yeah.
so, but for the phosphid regulations, they need, the 33% has to be in the residential.
Yes, which we
Right.
proved.
Yeah.
And so that 3.
Even though there
Then we
is-
keep bringing up the 3.82 like it's an extra bonus, when really...
Well, it is.
But it is.
It is for phosphid.
It's a loophole that we should probably look at close
Yeah.
in, but it's there now, we have to kind of honor it and move on,
Can
unfortunately.
you just show me which, the 3.82 that you're talking? Sorry, I can't, let's see. It's this, okay.
Yeah, it's that,
It's that yellow.
it's kind of
Okay.
flags it is.
So if you add up the blue and the orange,
That's what we're using for these open space
so
calculations.
the blue and the orange equals your minimum
Yes,
open space,
yep,
your,
that's
but,
just extra.
the-
So this isn't even included in these calculations,
but that will be protected open
but it will be
space.
protected open space. Right.
And it's not even really an issue, I mean, it makes it more difficult to get it all to work on the residential piece, but it is what it is.
Mr. Chairman, this is all underground utilities, correct?
Yep.
And one other thing, about the salt use. Could there be a restriction on salt use on Goose Pond pad?
I don't know.
That would be up to DPW and the selectmen. That's beyond, we can't dictate how the roads are maintained.
Well, I think in communities such as Lincoln, it's probably a town meeting issue, but I think we should start looking toward less salt use.
That's fine, but that's beyond the purview of this board. That would be the selectmen, DPW, and/or town meeting would have to make that determination.
And would that be townwide, or would you fix this? They'd put maybe low
That would be-
salt areas or something like that.
Possibly, yeah, but again, it's beyond what we can dictate.
Yeah.
Well, how does that get
There's state and federal
initiated?
guidelines for that, even Harold can't go out to salt.
Right.
DPW can't go out to salt based on how they.
All right, so what else do we need to cover here?
Now, the last one is, again, just kind of a duplicate there with lighting, just another section where it requires lighting at the end of the cul-de-sac.
So we'll have to continue, of course, but we'll
Right,
want to
so-
schedule,
Schedule a site visit,
Yeah.
and then prior to continuing the hearing, so the board has 90 days to make a decision from the date of submission. They submitted early September. Since the board's only meeting once in November as a precaution, I'm hoping that the board and the applicant can agree to a time extension for that, for the time for the, for you to make a decision.
Right.
and I have that here. So I'm hoping the board and the applicant
So
will sign that.
what did you suggest?
It's just until your December meeting, which is December 13th.
So it's like a 3-day extension or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a couple of days.
It's fine.
So,
December 13th.
yeah. We also have a meeting in November.
So yeah, we have 2 more meetings, a November meeting and December meeting, so we want to make sure that, just in case we need that extra one.
Yep. So one final question, when would you do a site visit, or when would that be coordinated?
A lot of times we do like a
I can do a poll,
doodle
or
poll.
it's up to you.
I think
Or we can
that's
schedule it
best.
now.
Dave isn't here and
Yeah, we'll schedule it.
yeah.
And would there be any, would they?
We can announce it, yeah.
Would there be flagging out in the field, so we would at least understand what these landmarks are? Like, what, at the start of the basin and whatnot?
I don't know what they have up there.
Or
I don't think the
right
right-
behind
The base is pretty easy,
The
yeah.
base is
Yeah, I
easy.
guess, yeah.
The road's staked.
And these are these like public's welcome, or is it typically the board, or?
It's typically just the board and the applicant.
Yeah. Yeah, like we don't announce it on the town website or anything.
It's not a public meeting.
I don't know if the developers would be interested in holding a walkthrough for the neighborhood or something instead of time. I don't know if there's concerns or anything. You don't have to like poll when people are available, but just pick one day or one time or something that, if there's any concern. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be anything that would be actionable on your account, but just for the public. It's up to you. I don't think it's required, but.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, Martha Remington. I think it's time we got clarification as to site visits and boards. I remember in early 1990s, when there was some development going on Harvard Road, 5 boards and the public were allowed to do the site visits. Suddenly, what is this thing where the public cannot go on site visits if we are allowed to go to public meetings?
I don't think there's anything
I'm not
rule against
saying- I'm
it.
not
We're just
saying
saying we don't
that.
have to post it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but I'm saying, I know in Concom, I was surprised last year where, oh, well, you're not allowed to go on the site visit on Long Hill Road. Excuse me?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see what there would be against it unless
Yeah, I
it was
mean, it
this
wouldn't be
huge
posted
crowd,
like a
like,
hearing.
yeah.
But I think that it's important that if someone wants to go, they will be allowed to go.
I mean, I personally have no reason
Thank
to
you.
not allow it unless it's, I don't know if it's typically been that way just to reduce distractions or.
It is, I mean,
Yeah.
it's really up to the board. If you want to invite the public, that's fine. I'm happy to make that announcement.
Well,
But the site visits.
I don't think we need to post it, but if there's a couple of neighbors who are interested, maybe they could tag along, or something like that. I mean, I guess it would be up to Dave maybe, but.
Well, perhaps that could be clarified because, as I say, this never came up decades ago. And suddenly, oh, it's a site visit, you're not allowed.
Yeah. I don't think
Excuse
we're
me?
saying that we're not allowed, we just don't post it as a public meeting.
Right, right, and that was understood.
So, I mean, there's 4 or 5 neighbors here, so if we could just if somebody's interested in the walkthrough, I mean, I don't know how Dave feels, he's not here, but I don't know. Does the board have any thoughts on that?
Maybe town council has,
Yeah, I don't know if there's any
Some-
liability issues that would, if
The-
something, but.
I think the answer to the question is, a site visit is really supposed to be like if you're in a trial, a jury's on trial, and they need to go to the scene, and the lawyers are showing them something and viewing something. There's really not supposed to be any deliberation done in that
No,
setting.
no,
It's the
no.
same thing with your board, and that's sort of the thing. And for that reason, it's not a public hearing, because there's no deliberation being done.
but there's a difference between criminal and civic site visits.
No, I use that as
Yeah.
as an example. It's supposed to be just here's where we're looking to put the trail, here's where the drainage basin's gonna go, here's where the roads, it's supposed to be sort of a viewing type
So
thing to
we're
get you.
we're happy to do a separate meeting
Yeah.
with the butters, and we'll send something to them
Okay.
and organize that. I think
So
that-
you
that
could
might
work
be
with Erica and
Yeah,
set
we'll
it.
we'll organize a separate a butter.
Yeah, because, yeah, so then, yeah, that would be good, so we can get what we need, and then the public can get what they need.
I mean, we want to work.
We
out the
appreciate
whole-
that, thank
Yeah, we
you.
want to work out the whole trail thing is, you know,
Yeah.
obviously, we don't want that.
Does that sound like a good plan?
So really, the feedback we need too is, you know, obviously, it sounds like you guys are on board with the town taking ownership of the open space, and if that's the case, maybe we can kind of vet out with Concom what entity's gonna be involved, whether it's Trails Committee, because if we are gonna go out there with the neighbors, it probably makes the most sense to have Concom
Sure,
and
right.
Jeff, Trails, whoever that is, to be there as well,
Yeah,
and just figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it really has a large bearing from our standpoint.
yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so we'll do set up the walkthrough offline, and then I guess I just need a motion to continue the hearing.
Okay, what's our next meeting here?
It is, I believe it's November 8th, let me double check, yes, November 8th. We do have a hearing at 7:30 for common driveway, so let's go ahead and set it for 8:15.
Okay, I'll move that we continue the hearing on Tadmore to November 8th at 8:15.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Walk back outside.
All right.
You should tell me I didn't have to.
All right, so next up, we're,
Can you send me the comments?
next up, we're looking at the special permit for Babaculottes and Yvette.
Yes.
I looked through the special permit and I didn't see any issues at all. It looked fine to me. I don't know. The rest of it's fine. Yeah.
What were we waiting on from the last meeting?
I think some people just wanted to look at, go and look. I don't know if it happened before the meeting before.
Yeah.
I think we're just waiting for this, right? I mean, there's nothing really open.
Right, you closed the
We had
hearing,
mentioned-
it was just a matter of reviewing the
Yeah.
decision.
And I reviewed it, I didn't see any issue with any of it.
One tweak I did make since I sent the draft to you in an email. Yvette had sent me an email asking that the board consider expanding the hours of operation so she could do an evening event and more there. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
and I don't foresee doing an evening event anytime
So
soon,
where's that in the?
but I want to keep that open
Under
for a future year.
Under which one?
Condition 4.
And I can talk to the building inspector about that.
I think the concern was lighting, right?
Yeah,
For
it'd be
any
lighting.
events.
And what are you proposing to change it to?
I added a sentence, hours of operation may also extend to an occasional evening event with closing hours no later than 8 p.m.
Do we want to say with the building inspector's approval or something? I mean,
Yeah, I could certainly do that, so you have to come to the town for an approval when you wanted to do an evening event.
I mean, I have no objection to an evening
No,
event, it's
no.
more of I just know the concern was lighting.
Really? We're gonna make her come for every time she wants to?
No, she doesn't need to come here.
No.
I think that's what Erica just said.
To the town, just either Mike or me to
Yeah.
let us know.
Oh, okay, good.
I mean, do we want to do that?
I
Yeah,
think we wanna do that.
Friday, tomorrow night.
I think,
You should know what he's doing.
yeah, I think that's over onerous.
Wait, so where's?
I think it's condition 4 of your decision.
So how often are you talking about having these events?
I don't even foresee it. My husband just brought up that in the future someday, I do a lot of artwork that lights up at night.
Yeah.
So someday I might do like an open studio weekend and maybe have it a little later, just so people could, I
I
could
think
display
that's
that.
reasonable.
Yeah. I have no issues with it.
There's no future.
Yeah, and 8 o'clock is good.
That's fine,
Yeah.
yeah. It'd be like October, so
Yeah.
it could start at 6.
I mean, I have no problems with that.
Yeah.
Is the motion to
Yeah.
issue the special permit?
Yep.
I move that.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Nice. Easy. Yeah, great. How did the opening event go?
It went great. We had over 100 people.
Wow, that's awesome.
Wow. A lot of kids. My kids really enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
the play date all weekend.
I know that Dave went down there.
Yes, the Sunday morning was really sweet. We had a rush of neighbors
Yeah,
walking
that's
to come see it on Sunday morning. It was really
Yeah.
nice. The
Yeah.
strollers and
That's great,
it was
yeah.
very sweet.
Good luck. Congratulations.
So thank you. Thanks for all your support.
Yep. All right. Back to these, huh? All right. So reviewing bylaw amendments. Start off with the cottage overlay. So from last time, I don't have your email where you sent like the list of changes.
Aren't these out out?
Yeah, well, I guess are these just the most recent changes?
This is the most recent change. Really, it's just the definition section that I
Yeah.
included.
So we included what is a 55 and over dwelling.
And I did expand upon it, because I know we had talked about including certain requirements at the last meeting, and I did expand upon it a little bit, so I'm hoping the board can look at it and see if you agree with that or not.
So let me just, I didn't get to read through this, let me just maybe read out the conditions. So pretty much you say, so it has to be 55 or over, and then you give like some conditions, right? Or the age restriction shall limit the dwelling units to the occupancy by individuals of age 55 or older, and the following: a spouse under the age of 55, a spouse who survives the qualifying owner occupant, who would be under 55, is what he's saying.
Right.
A spouse where the qualifying owner occupant has entered into a long-term care facility, a mental or physically handicapped child, brother or sister of a qualifying owner occupant, or spouse who is dependent upon said occupant, and then a paid caregiver. Yeah. And then we said children under the age of 18 may not reside in the dwelling unit for more than 6 months in a 9-month period, and that's just so there's never a full school year, right?
Right.
Yeah, that sounds good
Those
to
all
me.
seem reasonable.
Yeah. And then you defined affordable housing unit, which is our standard definition.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good with that. That sounds good to me. So this is just the reordering, which we already talked about, right? Yeah, there's nothing new from last time.
Yeah, all the other edits are all.
Yeah.
I did want confirmation though. Did we decide on 100 or 150 units?
So, I mentioned, I had a thought on that, and, you know, because we were saying 100 or 150, but I think we might even said, well, 100, and we can.
I think we said 100, we decided about capital.
But I was wondering, like, you know, so say you get to 90, and then it's really not possible to do another one because you have this like 10 unused, but.
I think that.
Well, what I was gonna suggest is that you say, you can't start a new development past 100, but, as long as you're under 100, maybe you can go up to 150, do you know what I mean? So,
No.
or 120?
No.
But some like, some
The
histories.
whole point of putting the cap in there was, if we get a couple of adult people can look at them, and if, you know, either say, okay, that was a bad experiment, and leave the cap where it is, or people can say, yeah, those are okay, and town meeting would be more than happy to bump it to 150, 200, 5,000, whatever number they want. You know, take the cap off completely, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
I think that was kind of the point of having the cap in there.
yeah, because we said what, so a 10 acre lot would be, it could be if it's all, if it could be up to 20. Yeah. But then, if it's a bigger one, you could potentially have just one development, which would be fine. You know, then we could re-review it.
Yeah, people can look at it and say.
Yeah.
I think we did want to cap it though at 100, not 100.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
All right.
I think.
So I'll make that revision. And then we also talked about potentially putting in a condition about utilities being owned by the condo association. Should I go ahead and make that edit, or
Yeah.
will that be
The same thing we just
decided,
came
or
up
it could
with.
be decided during the special permit process, so, you know.
I don't think we want to own it as a town, so, I mean, we talked about an easement, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So same thing, it could be included in the open space, but the owner would be,
Yeah,
The
there would be an
conversation, yeah.
easement.
Yep.
I guess it would have to be an easement,
Yeah.
we're saying it can be located in the open space.
yeah, that sounds like the best plan. to me.
Alright.
And then we talked about,
ADA compliant
Yeah.
units, which I know you wanted input from the developer, right?
yeah, which we haven't,
Haven't done yet.
I think I'm fine with saying like 10% single floor, but if you get into ADA, then you're talking about shower fixtures need to be something specific. Do we want to do that?
I think it's beneficial to have, I mean, 10%'s not a big number, to
Right.
have a
But, I mean,
building
still is it-
be ADA compliant. I mean, I think there's a market value for them. There definitely is.
Yeah, we're determining their market though. Maybe there isn't.
There's a market value.
I believe there will be.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If there's a market value, then they'll build them, so why dictate it? We won't.
I think it's an appropriate thing to dictate a minimum of 10%.
I could see-
It's a responsible thing as a planning effort to say, some of these should be ADA accessible.
I could see saying some of them should be single floor.
I think you need to go beyond
It's
that.
beyond that, yeah.
Single floor doesn't mean a lot for someone that can't get in and out of a bathroom. I mean, you know.
But then, I mean, then they lose that market,
I think if this is a new development and they're putting in a lot of houses, 10% of them, I would be good with that.
Mary Chumokor Road. Thank you, Danielle. I do know at Pondside, they did get, the board asked for approval to put in ramps and things for some handicapped people. I think if a development has ADA compliant units, they'll be the first to go.
Maybe, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I just think it's a responsible thing to at least make as a minimum, because it's showing we're making that a requirement, not a major
Part of
requirement.
the town,
Yeah, just to say we're looking at.
It's only 10 units.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, if using the argument that, oh, it's better for their marketing, and let them determine that. But if you're just saying, as a town, we want,
They're
we
marketable,
want
but I
that.
don't necessarily see a developer actually doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Unless
they're, if they're forced to put in 10%,
I mean, they're more
and those are the
expensive,
first ones
yeah.
to go,
Yeah.
the developer may say, oh, maybe I should put in a couple more
Yeah,
of these.
because they'd see
You know,
the value.
or
of it.
they may,
Yeah, like I
say
said,
values.
But
10%.
sometimes you'll get a developer that just doesn't want to do it. You know, it's
Yeah.
you're gonna have different units, now you're gonna have different floor plans and stuff, and this way it at least makes them say, okay, I've gotta look at it. So,
It's more work for them, so they may not want to do it unless you force them,
Yeah.
Well, I was going to just ask what he said, Holly Lauer, Main Street. What's the downside? I mean, someone can live there who's not ADA, who
Absolutely.
doesn't need ADA.
Well,
so-
the only downside I
Yeah.
see is we want this to be done and used, and if we start putting so many restrictions, I'm not saying this is an overall onerous restriction, but if we start putting so many restrictions, people are like, screw it. We don't want, kind of like with the overlay, we just didn't put enough coverage, so people, it's just not worth doing. We want to make sure it gets done. So that's why I was saying, well, I'd be interested to hear what a developer has to say, but maybe all developers would say, it's too much work. But 10% is a small number. So, I don't know.
do we have that in here though, right?
We do not yet, no,
Oh.
no. Or, yeah.
So, I think we should.
I would agree, I would
be in
like to see it
favor of
added.
putting that in there.
I mean, we're gonna have more discussions later on.
True, I can add it.
So if we add it, and it's a
So,
big
so which
issue.
way do you feel?
Well, I mean, I kind of agree that, some of the stuff we're telling developers, maybe they don't want to limit them and say, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a good thing to discuss, and if we put it in, and, some of the developers come back for a later meeting, we can discuss it with them.
I mean,
It's
maybe-
something that,
Maybe the question also is to ask developers, well, how much of an impediment is
right,
this?
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, 10% of your units to be
Yeah.
ADA compliant, is this a really big hit, or is this just
I
something
mean-
you can do and make it work, and it's not a big deal?
So, I mean, you know kind of what that entails, so what does that entail?
For inside of a
Yeah.
house?
Or are you just not sure?
I mean, I do everything outside, so I can tell you what the ADA requirements are outside of a building.
Yeah.
But I mean, single floor makes it easy, so then you don't have to worry about elevators or ramps. Bathrooms, you need, 5-foot wide turnaround, so you're gonna have a bigger bathroom, you're just gonna have bigger areas to maneuver around. It's not that crazy, if you have a single floor house that you're designing from the beginning to be ADA compliant, it's not that onerous. If you are retrofitting an existing house, that can be extremely expensive.
So from the inside, I get it. How about from the outside? How much, I mean, if you had to have one unit in a joined unit, does it change the design of the outside a lot? Or is the outside already fairly ADA compliant?
Well, when you look at single-family homes, probably not. They're not, they're not necessarily ADA compliant. And you gotta start looking at grades and stuff, and hopefully you're not picking an ADA compliant to be an extremely hilly area. I mean, I would think you'd wanna look at topography and stuff like that. I mean, it's all site-specific, and just, looking at it and how to make it work. I mean, I would think the developer would say, okay, this is an area that would be good and appropriate to kind of do that.
I'm just doing that, does that change, so whatever the rules are for walkways and roadways?
No, so when you have a public right-of-way, there's what's called the PROAG requirements, and so if it's public, not private, but if it's a public right-of-way and you have a sidewalk, your sidewalks can exceed the minimum requirements of 5% or 8%. They can follow the slope of the road. And that's considered acceptable because you're not necessarily going to design your whole road to be less than 5%.
I would just hate to set up a domino effect where all of a sudden it doesn't.
No, but what you will look at is, do you have handicap ramps, your curb cuts, from a sidewalk onto your road, your
For that
crossings.
particular unit, not for all of them?
No, just your typical sidewalks. I mean, if you're putting in a public right-of-way and you have a sidewalk, you want to be able to have it be ADA compliant. I mean, we should be doing that anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, that isn't, but I know a lot of our sidewalks get taken out, so it's.
I think we should probably also include, if we do the 10% ADA units, there should be also, as part of that condition, that the parking and access to those units also need to be ADA.
Yeah,
Because it is private, it's not required, so we should probably expand on that.
Yeah, I know at Ridgefield, they have some, 4 dwelling units where the 2 in the middle are the standard multi-floor townhouse, and the 2 on the ends are single.
That makes
floor.
it easier, definitely, to design it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, simple things, no steps into the units, everything's ramps.
Yeah.
Or at grade.
I mean, I definitely see the value of it, I just get nervous that we start adding so much that it doesn't get used.
I would like to add it in here and then have a conversation with some
Yeah,
developers.
that sounds
And see
good.
what their take is,
Yeah.
and see what the pushback is.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
I suspect if they know it up front, it should be pretty painless.
Yeah,
We're not saying
you-
50%, we're saying 10%.
No, I mean,
so-
10% is a small amount, and again, when you're designing from the beginning, it's so much easier to
Right.
make it work than if you're trying to retrofit.
Yeah, that makes sense. There, you want, so just put that in.
Okay, with that,
Were there any, was that it?
I think those were all the edits we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Moving forward, because now we're into, the end of October, does the board want to do a forum?
Yeah,
Present
definitely.
this to the public?
I would definitely like to do that.
And when do you want to do it? I'm thinking we can hold it just even during one of our regularly
Meetings?
scheduled
That would be
meetings. And I'll advertise it in the
Or,
paper.
I don't know, do we want to do that, or at the library, people
We
feel...
can, well, we don't have to meet here, we can meet in the library, but I think it
Yeah.
could be just, because you guys.
I don't know
have
if
your
people
schedule.
feel more comfortable going to the library versus...
Well, you have a
Yeah.
bigger space too,
Yeah.
so you could have more people, I mean, if,
So we can have one of our meetings there.
So, in terms of timing,
It's probably better to be closer.
Yeah, next year, right?
Yeah, like January. Before the public hearing, which would be February, right?
it would probably be in February.
So maybe we should do it in January?
Okay, January, Foster's.
Yeah.
Here at Juma Corn Road. Your agenda says on part of your business or your bylaws, amend 711, 713 Main Street, and the other one to a limited business district. So are you not discussing that tonight?
We're
We
not there
haven't
yet.
gotten to it yet.
There you go.
Oh, okay, gee.
We work from the top to the bottom.
You know what, though, the times don't make sense if you read the times,
Oh.
that's why.
oh yeah, we've
Yeah,
got
the way it's
8:15 and 8:10.
Yeah.
That's what
It says 8:15 then 8:10.
Yeah, no, we'll get there.
Oh, I apologize about that, that was
Yeah.
typo.
So I think that's it for the overlay. I think it's in good shape. So January,
So January, that's when I'll look to schedule the forum
yeah, maybe our second meeting of January or something like that.
at the library.
Yeah. So friendlier place in the town hall, maybe people would be more likely to come.
There's heat there.
All right, so,
Oh, and then just,
Feels like a
back
lot
to the
more
cottage.
than we saw last time.
It is, so, I updated the map to include all lots over 10 acres, developed or undeveloped, minus town land, chapter land.
so before it was just undeveloped?
It was just undeveloped.
Okay,
now
so if there's like a little shack on,
Exactly, so
Yeah.
if there's an existing house on something that's 10 acres or more,
yeah.
now that's included, so.
So we just have a map here of all the 10-acre lots. Hmm?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's not counting chapter land, which,
Could potentially.
So we have that 100 unit, you know, limit, so. Amend congregate living. So, we don't even have anything on that, do we?
It's, I think it's
Oh, on
in
the
the back of
bottom.
your packet.
Yeah. So this is, could you just, so this is to have like a in-law apartment type thing?
Well, it's just to amend the definition for congregate living.
Oh, that's right, that's
And
right.
update the schedule of permanent uses, because congregate living is referenced in the state zoning act, which has to do with congregate living for people that are disabled, it's an exempt use.
Mhm.
Our congregate living definition references housing for seniors, congregate living for seniors, which is different.
So this was the whole
We need-
confusion with cultivate.
Yeah, exactly, so we need to clear this up and make sure that we have, either it goes away, that use goes away, or we have an appropriate title for it.
So now this is senior congregate living,
Well, that's, yeah, but that was just my first sort of edit.
over 55 congregate living.
So, in terms of the use, what it is, it's, my understanding, it's not assisted living, but it's not independent living, it's something in between. And looking at other towns, I don't see any other town that actually calls this out as a use. So this is sort of a unique,
So you're thinking we could just,
well, it's up to the board, I think we need to think about it. Is it-
Where would we,
So right now, this is allowed in the limited business district only.
so it's in the limited business
It
district?
is. Mhm.
So is that what the country manor is then? Congregate living?
No, that's a HUD project.
Is that what we were talking about though?
No, that's something different. That's independent living.
I don't understand what we're talking about then for this.
So this is where you have elderly people living together that may need some level of care. So maybe they have nurses or staff going in, but it's not 24/7
visiting nurse or
care.
something.
Yeah. And
So-
they're allowed to live together, so maybe they each have a room and they have shared,
So
kitchen
is this like
area,
the
living
assisted,
area.
is this like the assisted living
But-
facility that we already?
It's not assisted living because it's not
Oh.
24/7, you
Oh.
don't have staff there 24/7.
So it's like the country manor, but not,
No, it's not like the Country Manor. Country Manor.
that's
is
not, that's,
independent.
there's no staff there.
It's the, yeah, right, exactly, that's
Yeah.
independent living.
Right.
This would be somewhere in
In
between
between.
the assisted and the independent.
So I don't know what they call it anymore, but it's sort of halfway house-like situation? And would it have to be elderly only, or
It would be
just
elderly, this, well, according to the definition in our bylaw, it's elderly only.
Is it?
what happens if we get rid of this?
It's just not allowed, in a limited business.
I
But
mean,
are
is
there
it in
any-
use?
Yeah, is there
No,
any,
there's none in town that I,
there's none in town, so it wouldn't
So it's-
affect anyone.
So it's
No,
like,
it's not.
so like say maybe
Right.
some house, is a house on Main Street, somebody sells and they put like 4 or 5 bedrooms for like a kind of 4 elderly people living together, I don't, no, I'm just trying to understand.
I think it
What's
would
the
be
plus?
almost like, not an apartment complex, but it would be a facility where you have multiple bedrooms and then you
In
have
one living
shared
area,
areas.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds like we need to be doing a apartment.
No, 'cause that has care.
Overall, it sounds like we need an overall.
This is
bylaw.
very unique. I
Yeah.
looked at a lot of other
It's-
towns and could not find this use
Well,
anywhere.
it seems just, yeah, like you said, it's very unique. I mean, I would say, in one instance, I would say, let's just try to scrap it, but I mean, I would want to put it forth in front of the town and say, does anyone see any,
A need for this.
a need or, I can't myself see one, but I also I don't know, maybe I'm missing something.
I did reach out to Deck Story because I wanted to know if he had any history on
History.
this, because it was adopted in '97, so there must have been a reason why the town wanted to move forward with it. He knew nothing about it. Kevin O'Brien from the Housing Authority weighed in, he knew nothing about it. I talked to Mike Savageau about it, and he definitely agreed that it wasn't congregate living and that it lent itself more to assisted living. So I think the naming definitely needs to be updated. The other thing that I was gonna do, and I just haven't had a chance, is I think I'll put the question out on mass planners and ask other planners if they've seen this used before and what they call it.
So, I mean, in addressing concerns from, what was the woman's name last time?
Ada, I'm sorry, I'm
Ada?
pronouncing it wrong, yes.
You know, her concern was for an affordable, for a senior, like real affordable, not like the over 55, which we're talking about. So I mean, I don't know if we do that this year, maybe we don't have time, but it seems like we need a bylaw for that, for a country manor.
Right, for independent living.
For a facility like, and we need a bylaw for that.
Right,
So that's
I agree.
probably what this should be,
But
right?
that's not
But that's not
this
what
at all.
this is.
That's not this at all.
No,
Do we have time to address that or no?
not this year, no,
Yeah.
I would.
An independent living bylaw is pretty, I mean, you've got to look at it and make sure it has a fair amount of stuff that.
So maybe we should not touch this year? I mean,
Well, let's have Erica reach out
think it's
to
important to-
planners and
yeah.
see.
I mean, I think clearing up would be good, but if we're in front of the town meeting and people ask us what it's for and we can't even really answer.
Well, maybe one of the town historians can say, well, back in '97, we were looking at doing this, and this is how this definition came into play.
Yeah.
And it may
Let's
be that we...
get more info.
Yeah.
So as far as the more info, like, what towns have this business? Like, if this is a business use, where are they?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's what Erica's gonna...
And and I'll ask more people in town.
There's three in the state.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's
I think, no,
big.
Yeah, I mean, was this an attempt at a definition to allow
Because
assisted living, but it didn't quite, wasn't quite right,
You allow
or
it in town.
And we
isn't quite right anymore or
We have a
something?
definition for assisted living, which,
Yeah, well,
That
exactly.
predates this or came after?
no, it's actually in your packet.
It's the-
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is kind of coming up because Cultivate, part of their argument was against the town saying, well, you're discriminating against us because you allow congregate living. We see it in your table of uses. And we're congregate living, but our intent was for, you know, over 55 and elderly, not necessarily this particular use. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that use, but it was just confusing.
Yeah, no, it's confusing the way it's written too, and just, I'd be interested to know what type of
Ask Ken Troop.
business.
Ken Troop knows everything.
I'll reach out to Ken.
Yeah,
He probably knows.
yeah, so let's just get more information and we can decide what we
Oh,
want
definitely, yeah.
to do on that one.
Parking bylaw?
Parking barrel.
Eric wants to go in front of development to present this to,
Get yelled at by Brad.
yeah, Brad would just roll his type of fit about it.
You know about that.
So I had a couple of,
So what'd you change here? You added in the table.
Exactly, and then I updated the table for the parking stall dimensions.
So that's how we want to do. We want to do the table versus the smart use.
Correct, that was my understanding, right?
I am all for that. I think it's,
And what do we have against the smart use? Because it was,
Giving a range, we prefer giving what the minimum would be instead.
okay, and that's the table, okay.
so for off-site parking, section 8A, in 500 feet of the property, is that from the edge of the property that the parking is serving, or is that from the building, or from an entrance, or where are we measuring that 500 feet from and to? Just any parcel that's
Where
within
is this?
500? 8A, page 7, 8A.
I'll say parking shall be within 500 feet of the property. The way I've always looked at it is, it's basically from your property line, like you can't go more than 500 feet beyond your property line.
Okay,
That's kind of,
okay.
it's not your entrance, because your building can be sited anywhere on the
Right,
thing. It's
yeah.
basically saying, all right, if you can't do it on-site, look off-site, but it's within 500 feet of your property.
Okay.
That's how I've always interpreted it, but,
Yeah, I think your concern, we definitely should clarify, I think.
Sure.
Whether we say property line or door entrance. I'm
I
not
don't
sure, but
think
we
you
should
want to
definitely
say door entrance, because I think you're really limiting.
Yeah.
You're not giving them the flexibility
Yeah.
of going the
Yeah.
full
Yeah.
500 feet.
Yeah.
'Cause You could have the building further back into the lot, maybe you
Yeah.
want that, but maybe they want to do some on-street parking, and that's like 600 feet away or 700 feet away or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, this just allows, basically Cobham to use, Futures parking lot. Well, I mean, it's 500 feet, you know, that's less than
Well,
500 feet.
but we're saying
Yeah.
that it doesn't have to be public, it has to be public, a public spot, right?
Right.
Well, you can have it on a private property, though, rights.
Well, I'm saying, does it say public spot in here somewhere?
Well, it doesn't, I don't think it has to, because no one's going to be able to provide off-street parking on a private property without getting
Yeah.
rights from that owner.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe there's another section here that references that actually anyway.
I mean, so they could get rights, I guess, but they would.
Well, I think we put a condition in there that
That's
they
the
couldn't do that.
Okay, then that works.
So I guess my point on that, I just made a comment that, if we're looking at using the parking at Memorial Field, and let's say we're looking at, the Cracker Barrel, that's gonna be more like 800 feet, so,
Yeah, it's 800 feet away.
yeah.
And what about the common parking lot?
I didn't measure that.
Is
I
this
assume that's
a
what-
number that can be waived or a variance seek?
Or we could leave it more open-ended and say, as determined by the planning board,
Yeah.
what's appropriate, for that particular property.
I mean, it's always good to give a number, but yeah, could we qualify it by say, 500 feet from the property line for which is being requested or is determined by the planning board?
Yeah.
And then it gives us the option. I
Yeah,
would hate to have someone.
700 feet.
Yeah, and not be able to do something.
Right.
Yeah, if we could add that in.
Yeah, sure. So leave it at 500 feet, or you want it less than 500? Because I think they typically range anywhere from like 300 to 350 up to 1,000, so
So we can say it could be 500 feet or,
I put,
Otherwise, no,
or
okay.
as determined by the planning.
yeah. And what's this, the fees in lieu of parking? That was, no, you have a question mark there.
And that's if, if off-street parking is provided, and they don't have to build so many parking spaces, do we then want them to provide a fee, for,
That can go towards the sidewalk.
Right,
the
well,
sidewalk
or
doing
it would,
down, or-
I think the intention would be to then provide additional or new public parking area.
So this is if they,
This is if we had public
If,
parking lot or
to
something.
start with, yeah.
so if they don't have any parking is what you're saying and they're just using public?
No, they should have some, but if they want to, let's say they want to waive a percentage of it and say, okay, we would like to take advantage of,
So this is saying they're gonna park some on site, they can't meet the full requirement. They can't meet the off-site because there's just nothing off-site, so now they're just gonna give us money for the amount that they can't meet. Is that what this is?
It's like a town like Concord, right, that has public parking
Yeah.
that can't meet these requirements.
But is that saying we're waiving these numbers in the table or no?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're saying that, well, yeah, if you can't meet the parking,
If you can't meet the parking, just pay us off and
Yeah.
we'll let you. Yeah.
I'm not so sure about that one.
I'm, seems kind of passing the buck to the business saying, here, Tom, figure out my parking for me.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the intent
Yeah.
is to provide funding to create more, new public parking areas.
I mean, but do we even have any new viable? I mean,
Well, that's the thing, we have to research, I have to research that and.
Unless we had
Probably
viable
not.
potential spots, then I'd say just take it
Yeah,
out.
I'm almost hesitant to leave this in because it could be a loophole.
Contention
for-
point, too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of,
I mean, taking fees in lieu of sidewalks or in lieu of affordable housing, where those can be easily used in other parts of the town makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, get
Here,
rid of it.
parking can't really be, you can't set up your parking down at,
No, you need it
you
for
know,
the site.
it's gotta be right,
Yeah.
it's gotta be at the site, so it
And
really.
if they
Yeah, no, I
can't, if
agree.
they can't meet it, then,
We allow a shared parking use, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we're allowing them to come in with a shared parking equation, or calculations to show, they have different peak demands and they can reduce the amount of parking, I would say let's leave that
Yeah.
and get rid of
I
this.
agree.
yeah, sounds good.
But we are keeping the off-site parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep the offsite parking 500 feet or as determined by the planning board, and then delete the,
Yeah, the fees in lieu of parking.
yeah,
I mean, because we're adding a lot of flexibility, we don't need to add even more.
yeah.
Otherwise, I think it looks pretty good.
And then the other requirement towards off-site parking, essentially under that section, subsection E, it talks about that in terms of their overall parking requirement, the off-site parking can only count up to 50% towards the
That sounds good.
number.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right number, maybe it should be less than that since we don't have significant off-site parking.
Yeah, right,
Maybe it should be 25%.
What was that? I'm sorry, I missed you. I was looking at something else.
Oh, subsection E.
I don't know if it was
off-site.
was it Stowe's or the smart parking, when I read through it, it said that, depending on your number of spots, this could be 10% or 20%. I forget what I was looking at, but the off-site parking.
I'd have to.
I might have just Googled Massachusetts off-site parking and saw some general, what towns kind of fall before off-site parking to create that percentage. But I think 50% is a fine place for now to leave it. Maybe do a little more research leading up.
Yeah. Can I ask your parking table?
Yeah.
Where did the numbers come from? Was it like Stowe or was it?
Yep, so at the
ITS?
very top of it, because you'd asked for comparisons.
Yeah, so I like the fact that you've listed the width, length, and travel width, that's perfect, so.
Oh, for that table, that's
That's Stowe's, okay, the only thing I might wanna just check is what ITS requires, I think like for your parallels, I thought it didn't go less than 9 for your
I can
width.
check that.
So yeah, if we can just check this against ITS,
So what's parallel two-way? What does that mean? Parallel one-way?
so two-way traffic, one way is one way only.
Oh, going through the
So-
aisles?
So like one way would be you only have traffic that's going in this direction. So you can park, on either side, but it's one way. Two-way would be your traffic in both directions.
I gotcha. So then we just have to
And
decide.
the size for a handicap spot is dictated.
That's by ADA, that's RMA, yeah, so that's,
We don't need to call that out here.
no, I think, do we have it noting that all?
It is noted, but it's just a simple sentence,
Yeah, just that they'll all be per ADA requirements.
So do we want to line these uses up with our table of uses? 'Cause-
So I did that,
Oh.
but then so the ones highlighted in yellow expand upon the uses in the table.
Uh-huh.
So for example, Stowe had a use in their parking requirement for greenhouses.
Yeah.
That falls under agriculture, so technically we could include it because agricultural was.
We'll need it for our grow facilities, so we should keep it.
That's just one example, so I just was expanding upon it because it makes it easier
The
for a
greenhouse.
developer coming in if the use is stated
Yeah.
clearly.
So bed and breakfast.
So bed and breakfast is something I have to look into
I mean, that's-
because right now we don't call that out. We
It's a
only
gray
call out-
area.
That's a little bit of a gray area because we only call out motel hotels.
I don't think we
so-
should call out gray areas. Just stick to.
But we do have bed and breakfasts in town.
Well,
So,
I'm not against them, and I wouldn't.
But we don't have.
I just want to clarify, right, it's not a use, but I want to clarify, because we have motel hotel, does that mean we just allow lodging in general and then bed and breakfast would be captured in that? I just wanted to do a little more research.
So what's the for hotel motel? That's what? That's what's that on the table of uses? I don't remember. It's limited business.
Limited business.
Yeah. and bed and breakfast. I guess that's considered hotel motel, right? But bed and breakfast is more residential.
Yeah, so
The
it doesn't
business and
really,
limited business for motel, hotel.
Well, yeah, so leave the motel hotel, but bed and breakfast is kind of like residential, and it's like a don't ask, don't tell type situation in town. Right now, right? That's pretty much what it is.
Well, I don't know if it's that, I think it's probably more maybe.
there's at least one that's permitted.
How is it though? We just had the Airbnb pretty much
Airbnb is
refuted.
different, and that's a different situation.
Oh, because it's owner occupied.
Yeah.
And Airbnb is,
It's allowed, but it has to be 5 and under.
no, because the rule was any more than 5.
Yeah, you can't have it with any more than 5, I thought.
Well, so Mike, he went back and he changed his determination
Yeah.
based on the board of, not
Yeah.
the board of health, but the
Yep.
Yeah,
public
Yeah.
health.
the state,
I think it was even the federal.
So the bed and breakfast in town doesn't have more than 5 unrelated people at a time.
I don't know, I think we have
Yeah.
it.
I think it's different because the owner is there,
Yeah.
and it's rooms as opposed to Airbnb,
I mean,
but
we should probably clear it up someday. I have no problem with it. I know I brought up, I know it's not on this list, I brought up adding, for Airbnb and bed and breakfasts to add that as a special permit to the residential zone, to be able to create bed and breakfasts. I think that would be great to do.
What are all the highlighted ones for?
Those,
Not
so,
table uses.
right, exactly,
Oh, they're not in our table of uses.
right.
It's a medical and dental office, isn't it?
No, but we allow for office, so
Oh.
this
Yeah.
is just to make it a
I'm
little
just
more
saying, we don't,
detailed.
we don't,
Yeah.
We don't call it out, but it falls under office, and then this gives, a developer, designer more
Personally, I
information.
love all the detail because it's a lot easier. for me to
Right.
have.
yeah.
That was my
Yeah.
intent.
Yeah, I like it.
But some of these may not be applicable, like bed and breakfast and boarding house, because that's a
Those
gray
are the
area, those will
two.
probably go out.
Mhm.
Greenhouse, do we really care about, do we see that as a future? I only saw that in
Can I say
Stowe's.
no comment?
Greenhouse.
Yeah, we don't have anything for schools, yeah, I would definitely
Well,
have.
schools
one
are
for schools.
exempt, so that's, in terms of the use, that's an automatic.
So
Oh,
For
so, yeah, but it's
parking,
good for park, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I think
parking, we should call it out.
So we have to just pick our columns and, right, we have to pick which column we want to go with, or just
Well,
go
these
through
are
each
just
one?
examples, so this
Yeah.
is just to give you an
Yeah.
idea of what other towns
Yeah.
are doing.
Yeah.
They
Stowe's
seem
are generally
reasonable to
pretty
me.
good. Yeah.
And then for the smart parking bylaw, I believe I used the maximum as a.
The what?
The maximum of that range
Yeah.
to compare it with the other towns, because the minimums were,
We're really, yeah.
yeah, they were kind of far off from the other towns, so.
Yeah, I think this looks.
This is in
fine.
good shape.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. All right, lot coverage. So it's this guy.
So this coverage and offset analysis.
So you don't have a bylaw right now, right? It's just this.
It's just that, because we
Yeah.
started talking about it last time, but then,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we came to any conclusions about it.
So, yeah, we don't really have any more information today. I wonder if we should look at specific areas to see what different,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. see what different coverages would do.
Maybe I could select, parcels in each of the districts, and then, maybe some of the undeveloped, like maybe for business, we could look at Kane,
Yeah.
for industrial, we can look at the one parcel that's
Yeah.
vacant,
Yeah,
and figure out.
even Cobham, I'd be interested to see Cobham.
Okay,
Because,
Yeah, you're right, it would be good to see it with like a map with
Yeah.
some of the offsets kind of put on it.
I mean, because I know they're trying to sell it, it would be good if potentially the town did have the opportunity to offer a TIF
Mhm.
to a new business.
and then I could calculate, in terms of floor, max floor area,
Yeah.
what that would get them
Yeah.
for each lot.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And then, definitely setbacks, I like, so what did Stowe do? So Stowe kept their bigger setback for industrial, so maybe we don't wanna touch that, but for commercial or limited business, definitely, I think 50 feet is probably a lot more practical. But, I like, so I don't know if we should move So where are the setbacks in the current bylaw? They're in a completely different area. They're not in the coverage area, right?
It's the same area.
Oh, it's in the same area?
Yep, it's all under 250-13.
Oh, okay. And so and it divides it out in limited business?
It does not, no, it's residential,
Mhm.
and then it's all other uses.
And those are 150 front,
Yeah.
50 side or 20 side?
20,
20 side.
yeah.
So I like how they break it out, because we probably want 150.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's 50.
50.
Yeah. Okay,
50 cents.
misspoke.
Yeah, the vote, we have 8%, 150.
Oh, okay, it's right there, sorry.
20 is residential.
Yeah, so we should
I think we need to break them out.
break it out, just like Stowe does, yeah.
Business doesn't have to have the same setback as industrial, you know, I think you
Right.
want,
I like how Stowe increases the open space for the use too, so industrial requires 40%.
yeah.
And, commercial
Business
requires
is more like
20.
20, but.
So, I think leaning towards Stowe's is probably a good option.
Yeah,
I saw
think some of their
Berlin's,
open space requirements are pretty stringent, just because our parcels in the business are small.
yeah.
20% would eat up a lot of area, so I think we may want to look at
Well, yeah,
not
well,
not requiring it.
Same thing, what would the coverage do? Let's look at to see
Right,
what the
sure.
open space would do too. So that would be a good determinant factor.
Yeah, if we can pick one industrial, one business, one commercial, and there's.
And I like Stowe's. Stowe's is simple versus like Berlin's where there's a complicated
Oh, Berlin's
equation.
pretty complicated,
Yeah, I
Oh,
was trying to do it out. I was like, okay, so the first 2,500, then after that it's 10%. I was like, oh my god.
Well,
Other-
Harvard was the most complicated, like, it got to a point where I didn't even calculate it because it was so specific.
Yeah.
I just left it open-ended.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, if you could do that to the Kane, that industrial
Yeah.
lot, Cobham. What else? I think that's it, really, right?
Well, if we can look.
Well, I should look at limited business and business too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I know it's not on the list, but it does get captured under bylaw amendments, is the recreational marijuana.
Yeah. So this is the responses so far?
So far, we've gotten,
Is this totaled at the bottom?
yes, it is, yeah. We've gotten 180 responses, which I think is 181, which is amazing.
Wow.
Considering this hasn't even been publicized really yet.
Yeah, I mean, I posted it on Facebook and I put it on Nextdoor.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's up on our website. I don't know if the board's had a chance to.
I haven't read, but maybe I should read off the questions so it's on record in the meeting. So question 1 is, should the town of Bolton allow businesses that sell marijuana for recreational purposes? And, well, so 136 said yes and 45 said no.
Wait, sorry, what was the business?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, here.
Uh-huh. So the question was, should the town of Bolton allow businesses that sell marijuana for recreational purposes? So pretty much a pot shop, right?
Right.
And it was 136 to 45 yes, which is surprising to me. I thought it'd be more like 50-50, but. Should the town of Bolton allow businesses that grow marijuana? Oh, sell, that grow, okay. So grow is 140 to 41, it's about the same.
I was joking about the greenhouses.
Should the town of Bolton allow businesses that manufacture marijuana? So, what's the difference between grow and manufacture?
Manufacturing and making edibles and that sort of thing, or
Right.
processing the buds to get them ready to.
So these numbers
Mark's been
fall.
researching.
So it looks like either people are all for it or all against it, because that's 135 to 46. Question 4, should the town of Bolton allow businesses that test marijuana products for recreational purposes? 136 to 45. Question 5, should recreational marijuana establishments be allowed where medical marijuana treatment centers are currently zoned as allowable? Same thing, 140 to 41. Question 6, should the sale of recreational marijuana be allowed in the industrial district only? And that was 40 yes and 141 no, so.
Basically, people say,
Yeah.
you
They
know,
want it
we're
outside.
Wherever.
the zone, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't restrict it.
So that's, is that sale only? So it doesn't say like,
No,
That's-
sale,
should the
manufacturing.
sale of
That's sales,
recreational.
so-
all right, so not growing necessarily?
No.
Right.
I'll add a percentage row to
We're-
the next sentence.
We're pretty much right across the line, it's 140 to 40, so that's,
What, how much longer is the survey?
Well, I haven't even publicized it yet, so it's.
Oh, so we still have to like.
This is just, we were able able to get it up on the website, and then
Yeah.
people started filling it out. And
They put it on the
great,
website.
You know?
Great.
So at this
Can
point,
I ask
you
a question
guys,
though?
yeah.
If someone goes to fill it out electronically, can they fill it out like multiple times?
Yes, they can. So we checked for that.
Okay.
So we were checking the ID, because we were
It
curious.
verifies you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been looking at the IP address.
I saw that at the
And there is 21 duplicates, but I actually
Could
don't
be
think
people in
that's
the same
that
house.
bad.
People in
Because
the
it
same
could be.
house,
Because me and my wife did
Exactly.
it at the, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just keep track of it, but it may not
If it's
necessarily
like-
mean anything.
Duplicates being 2 in 1. If it's like 20 in 1, then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, typically what you
What's
could
the
do
IP
in the
address of the
future,
library?
well, typically what you could, what you do in the future is you can have them enter in an email address, and then once they enter that email address and they fill it out, that email address can't be entered in again.
Yeah, I think people, I mean,
I don't know if we have
it's-
that
It's capturing the IP address, so
We
that's
talked
fine.
about that. I think we're gonna look into that.
Holly Lauer, so one thing that could kind of warp this is, it is on Facebook, and
Right.
so that might
I was just gonna say that same
warp
exact thing.
the.
So this is
response,
just,
yeah.
you know,
But it's a great
all the,
response.
I guess, I mean, all the computer savvy people.
Right.
But it is, we plan to put it in the Bolton Independent, so,
Right.
so it's gonna go to every household paper form.
So hopefully this will get out in the November.
November 1st?
No,
Second.
because I had to send it to the printer, they need to make their copies, and then they need to send it to the newspaper. So I think it'll be published for the 17th,
So did you already, the only thing,
or maybe the 10th. It's either the 10th or the 17th,
just kind of,
because they need it the Monday before, so it's either one of those.
kind of what she was saying, is it possible to just put is it already printed and done?
No, I wanted to make sure you guys were fine. 'cause you
Could we
can
put a
comment.
statement that
Like
says,
only one.
if you've answered online, could you refrain from answering?
Or just say one submission per person.
Yeah, I'll just, one submission per
that's-
resident.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
submission per resident, and that's.
Including online or by paper, or something like
Well,
that?
I think it's, you say one
It's
submission
one
per
submission, I
resident.
think
That,
people-
I think people know.
Okay, that's fine, just a statement, yeah.
Yeah.
It might be a good idea just to track, anyway, ultimately put them all together, but no,
We
so
will
many
put
came
them
from here and
Yeah.
so many came from there, so
Yeah.
you can.
Well, you'll be able to do that,
Some
because
level
with
of
the
difference.
Survey Monkey, you know, all of those are electronic, and
Yeah.
then you can add up all
Yeah,
of
we'll
the
just
paper
add all
ones,
the
so.
paper.
Well, actually, we're doing it through the website, and what I'm gonna do is, because the website, the way that it works, it actually tallies everything for you. I'm gonna, if I have time, upload all the hard,
Okay.
hard
okay.
copies, so that way, we
Enter
have it
those
all,
yourself,
all electronically.
Then it's easier for it.
Yeah.
So we'll have hundreds from one IP address.
I mean, I'm really,
That's true.
for some reason, I thought it would be a lot closer.
Well, I think
I
that
think so,
it's
yeah.
still a small group of people that have
Yeah.
answered, so I think what.
Yeah, that's
Other
true.
than if we had that turnout at town meeting, we'd be very happy.
Yeah.
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 So this is the last call. You guys are okay? Because I know, Eric, you were,
Oh,
I don't
so,
think we can change this now, because this is.
we can change it on, well,
No, because people have already answered.
We don't want to
this,
change
or-
the questions.
You-
well,
no.
you know,
No,
because
already answered this.
it's fallen right down the line anyway, so it's kind of, if you infer, because my question was, so say you said no all the way, and then you get to question 6 where it says, should the sale of recreational marijuana be allowed in the industrial district only? Then you have to like say yes after saying you didn't want it anyway, but, so.
I think.
Or if you say no, you don't want it there, then you say you want it everywhere. So I thought you should have added like a statement like saying if you said yes, but I think it's fine the way it is.
I don't think we can change this, because we have
Yeah.
146 people who
Yeah.
have already taken this.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
as it
It's fine the way it is.
So otherwise, you've got to
Yeah, no, it's fine.
disregard these and re-release it, so
Yeah, so-
I just,
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah. That's good.
I haven't read all the comments. I'll read this tonight. Wow, they're long comments.
Yeah.
there's a couple of them.
Passionate. Well. All right, and what you were waiting for. Amend 711, 713 Main Street, and 716, 718 Main Street, to limited business. Is there any other document on this, or is it just?
No, because we're still vetting it out, so
Yeah.
depending on how the board. There
Um,
is a comment letter from Kia again.
Do we have that?
Yes, it should be in your packet.
paper.
And I guess she did some research on spot zoning, and she believes this to be spot zoning.
Well, if Slater's and Skinner isn't spot zoning, then I don't see why this would be.
Have we asked town council?
Not yet, we would obviously get to that.
The
point.
reason why,
Want to move
so I
forward
think,
with
what was this? Either Skinner wanted it or Slater's wanted it. Well, it was, what was it before Slater's again?
it. Well, I think Skinner's was business or limited business, and then
Oh, and they-
reverted it to residential. They changed it to residential.
Is it residential now?
And then we added them to the mixed use because they wanted to be business again, and we said we didn't have time to, or, no, I'm sorry, it is business.
It's business,
I'm getting
yeah.
confused. Yes, it's business.
Yeah, well, I think one of
And they
them,
wanted to be residential again. It was residential at one point.
right, but it's, so it wasn't spot zoning. They kept the two of them, right?
Right. Because
I think-
Slater's is business too.
I mean, I remember that conversation coming up when
Right.
the neighbors came in about Skinner. I forget under what circumstances, but all I'm saying is if Skinner and Slater's isn't spot zoning with those two, I don't see why these would be.
Well, I think it still needs to be vetted out,
Yeah.
especially asked by town council too.
Where's, so I went to the hearing for ZBA. And the owners had a pretty good presentation. It was the same concerns, parking and safety. Was there how did the walkthroughs go? Do you know? Right.
Two of the ZBA members did a site visit, and based on their walkthrough, Sten did submit a revised sort of narrative for the parking, but they haven't weighed in yet because their meeting's not till Monday.
So just my thoughts in general is that I know the concerns are, it's, you know, a toehold to the neighborhood and people worried about the whole neighborhood becoming business, but, you know, those have been businesses for hundreds of years. The reason to add them to the limited business is to, you know, a lot of the talk was, you know, well, we don't know what the future owner's gonna do, but the problem is people are gonna have a hard time selling when it's just under ZBA control, being pre-existing non-conforming. If it was limited business, it's more defined what the property could be, so it'd be easier to sell to a new owner, who could potentially, you know, have more funds to upgrade the property and you know, aesthetically make the property better to look at. So, I mean, that's why I think that it should be limited business. Also, I think in limited business, the town, more boards have control with the special permit process between our special permit, DRB getting involved, selectmen have their site, what?
Site plan review.
Yeah, site plan review. So that's overall why I think it would be good to be
Can I,
limited business.
at the very bottom, she says, a better way to do this is to create an overlay allowing both residential or business use in a larger zone. Can that be done?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I didn't think you could.
It's usually
So
one
then,
or the
all,
other.
then she's saying,
That's
well,
what I
all the
thought.
businesses could be, all the houses could be
Yeah.
businesses.
Am I?
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen that before.
Mary?
Limited business does not allow for residential,
No, it doesn't.
so you can't have both.
I don't
But
understand.
no, my question is, can
As
you
an
do what she's
overlay, yeah, I
asking
don't think so.
and do it as, so it's residential now, can you have a business overlay? And I've never heard of that, but I
I've never
know,
have either.
not to say that you can't do, I just, I did,
I mean, that's the
And
mixed use overlay,
wouldn't
right?
that make you worry about creep even?
That would be even worse.
Then there's no brakes on,
Well,
you know, anybody can say, yeah, I want to, you know, I want my business here now, and
because then they don't necessarily have to follow the business, you know, requirements. I mean, I guess I'm just, I don't know how you would, I like the idea of it, but I don't know how you would make an overlay business use over that and make it work.
Isn't that what the mixed use, the village overlay is? That's residential and business? You can have apartments above business.
Right, but it's like one lot and it's a development as a whole, you know? It's not where this is all separate properties, kind of standalone.
Mary Chumo, Corn Road. Rezoning should be consistent with the town's comprehensive plan. I want to know what data, what documentation you are using to prove that this is something that should be done.
I mean, I brought it up, so for the reasons why I just said.
But you need to look at rezoning and
Could you tell me
Why
why,
you
tell me
do-
why you're against it? Give me reasons why it's not good.
because I really value the town center being in the National Historic District. I actually like this. I don't consider it decrepit. I don't consider it a downtown area. It's primarily residential, and it seems to work well.
So my thought, I wasn't saying any of the residential houses making them anything else. I know the argument of the toehold, but I just wanted to make it the Druids property and the Cracker Barrel, give them more viability to get a good owner in there and get a complementary business to the town common.
You're also losing, I believe it's 3 rental units.
Well,
If
they'd be
you-
grandfathered in,
How can you do that with your definition of a limited business?
because it then just becomes the opposite case, right?
Right, so the apartments, because they're in active use now, if we were to change the zoning, then it would become a grandfathered use. So unless it was abandoned,
For
it
2
could
years.
continue to
Okay,
use.
so they're saying, I mean, that was a
It's
concern.
business anyway, isn't it?
My other concern is that the Druids were allowed to make that residential house into a business with an apartment upstairs. There have been now 3 businesses in that building. I really don't get this Pollyanna, Mayberry, USA kind of vision of what we want this to look at like, because now that we have a town center. Because I really don't see retail shops working in this area. I don't. And if you look at the number of homes that have recently been sold in the town center, they've gone quickly. And they've gone at their asking price. So I don't see this as a decrepit, falling apart, it needs help type of area. I don't.
I guess I am looking at it kind of in the,
And I'll tell you.
the Norman Rockwell kind of
Yeah, you
small
are.
shops around the common.
And it's not gonna happen, Eric, it really isn't. What you're gonna end up with if you do a limited business, and the Druids is basically is a tear down, which is really, really sad. And they were the worst kind of buyers.
Yeah, no, I
that
agree.
Took on that.
Well, and part of what I'm doing is trying to get it out of their hands
It's a
personally.
tear down.
Yeah.
And what's gonna happen to the 2 houses next to it? Well, they're gonna see, hey, limited business, I'll sell to a retail business. Next thing you know, this whole
They can't sell to a
side,
retail business though, they're residential.
because they'll petition to be included in your special
Well, it has to go before the town.
limited business.
It's not like us alone can do it, the town would have
I'm
to do
just
it.
saying, it's setting the precedent.
Yeah.
It's set, I mean, the Druids, that house should have stayed residential, should have never been. I mean, the barn and the shop, unfortunately, but and I also want to point out that if you look at usage of the town common right now, there aren't that many events going on. So I don't know where you think some retail that's going to sell soda and candy is going to be able to survive over the infrequent uses of the town common. And to be perfectly honest, the people who are using that most are the people who live in the neighborhood. So I also think you're putting the cart before the horse. I mean, I have heard from your last planning board meeting referring to this as a downtown area. I heard you refer to it as a business district. I heard you mention that with a sewer system, then you can attract more business. And so I'm seeing your bigger picture. And this is what has me very concerned.
Well, just to comment on the sewer system, I don't think it was necessarily to attract more businesses. I think it was to help the individual homeowners get rid of their tight tanks and that type. So at least the way I was looking at it was, I mean, you have residential houses that have septic systems that, you know, aren't necessarily the best practice.
Right, no, I agree.
And you will absolutely improve the value of the homeowner's house by putting in a municipal system. So I think, just with that one respect, that was, I think, some of the topic, but you're right, you can attract, now you can attract businesses because they don't have to put in a leach.
Well, Jonathan Keep mentioned that and said that what he is getting as selectman, responses from people is they're not going to pay for residences in the town center to have a sewer system. And so,
Well, so the
There you
study
have it.
committee we were talking about doing, or, you know, would be to see if with betterment fees and everything, if we could cover it. Of course, the town would have to front money for the betterment fees, but,
I mean, I think the Cracker Barrel, you know, giving them retail is great. I just, you know, I'm gonna see one shop after another shop come and go in these places because what you consider an amenity may not be what other people consider, you know? It's, why not just focus on the areas that have been designated and fill those spaces? I mean, we're all celebrating what Frank Patterson did to 626. You know, finding somebody like him is going to be very rare.
Well, I think we're looking at also a bunch of different angles. I mean, one of the things we're also looking at is how can potentially, you know, rezoning the existing businesses and allowing them to expand a little bit more.
yeah,
Like,
which
you know,
is what you were talking about.
Yeah, so I think we're trying to explore a bunch of.
I mean, in my
different-
mind, this whole thing wasn't about, you know, taking over the town center. It was just that those one little areas, trying to improve those two properties, improve the viability that they can become a better business.
But you need a better argument, because you just don't rezone because it sounds like a great idea. You need, you need a lot of vetting, you need a lot of documentation to back you up, and I don't think right now.
Well, I mean,
You don't. If you read the master plan, and I know it needs to be updated, but it hasn't yet, so that's what we're working with. You're not gonna find anything in there that says that you should bring in limited business into the National Historic
Yeah.
District.
I mean, I wouldn't worry about, I mean, I know you're worried about, you know, business creep or whatever you want to call it, but without a sewer district, which I know it's been brought up, but I mean, that's like, I mean, it's so far, it's not even, I don't even see it ever happening.
So don't put the cart before the horse.
But with that, and with the parking, just, they're not really great business properties anyway, that's why my only thought was those two. But,
Can I ask, I thought David had mentioned at the past meeting though, that there was history of those two areas being
they've been businesses for 200 years, pretty much.
Okay.
You have a
Well, since the Druids bought it.
Well, but I'm
I
saying,
mean, the
100 years
shop,
ago,
the
they,
shop was always business.
yeah.
The house did have the telephone exchange in there, but it was a residence. I mean, the resident ran it in there. The Cracker Barrel's always been a business.
I mean, I agree that our major concern is the 495 area.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anything else to say on this?
Not really.
I mean, as you can see, we don't even have a written bylaw yet.
Thank you,
Just talking.
because I'll be back.
You know, I know this is, we're talking bylaws. I do think that you should bring, you know, back up your ingress and egress bylaw again. That was like 2 years ago. I think, I was joking around about it before, but, you know, all this talk about safety and ins and outs.
What I would like to ask from, now that I'm here from the planning board, is talking about parking, is if you want to start looking at parking areas, I think you should support public ways in, you want a sidewalk from Memorial Field to Main Street.
Yeah.
We are pushing to put in pedestrian cross lights at, it was originally Mechanic, we're gonna push for Waterquad and Main also, which means we're gonna have to upgrade the sidewalks with curb cuts in order to do that.
I think that's great use for them.
We've asked Harold, and we're gonna try with the new DPW director to put parking,
Stripe
painting,
Yep,
to
stripe painting.
show
Parallel parking.
designated parking in the town center. also doing painted curb cuts at the crosswalks to show that cars cannot use those shoulders to pass other cars if a pedestrian is crossing. I mean, there's a lot that can be done here before you try to attract people into it to use it. We've got to make it safer. So
Yeah.
just any support we can get from planning on that would
Yeah.
be very much appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. Just one last thing you said, you know, because I'm the one who brings up the decrepit. I'm really talking about one property, you know, the Druids property.
Yeah, and that's because we let them turn it into a business.
Well, but my thought is if you got a better owner, a Frank Patterson.
You need big pockets, somebody with big pockets, especially the condition of that property now.
Yeah.
You need big.
Well, the barn is gone, yeah,
And that's really sad.
yeah. The barn's not
It's
recoverable. And then you have the two houses, right?
So, but
Okay.
thank you.
Is this a discussion that the board wants to continue having, or should we, I personally feel we have.
I want to
quite
hear
a-
what the ZBA says, I guess.
Okay.
Let's see how that ends
Keep it
up.
on the list. I just feel we are already attacking quite a few
Yeah, I
big
mean,
bylaws this year.
I would hate, because, I mean, I think it would be nice, but I would hate it's really not gonna make a major difference. I'd hate this major contention to sour our other things, because our other things are more important.
Right, exactly. And I also agree to Mary's point about the master plan. Maybe once the master plan's updated,
Yeah.
that's something that we can look at as part of that process.
Well, can I just can you remind me how this came about of us even?
It was me,
Okay.
yeah.
So it wasn't any of the
No, it was
owners
me.
or anything like that?
No,
I
it was
mean,
just, it was me trying to
Okay,
Him with his EDC hat on, trying to.
okay.
improve.
I get it,
business
and to give some more opportunity, flexibility for the owners and stuff, but I think
Yeah.
we've heard from
Well,
multiple people on some of the negative.
I mean, we have so many other bigger things we're doing here. I mean, I don't mind pushing off. Let's see what the ZBA says. Let's go through the year, see what happens with the current owner, and just forget about this one till next year.
Okay.
It would be good just to get town councils.
Yeah, that would be good to find out.
Spot zoning?
Yes, I would like the understanding of this.
Clarification for future.
Yeah, so that we understand, because if this is spot zoning, we don't want
But
to do
we're
it.
not touching anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, are there other things that we may consider that would also be special?
Well, and that's why I want to make sure we have a clear understanding of spot zoning, so we don't go down a road that we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because I know we talk about, I mean, you're not gonna get more taxes out of it, because it is what it is. You're getting the most you're gonna get anyway. Like, maybe the assessed value will go up a tiny amount, but,
So I have a question. Two properties, if they're sold now, what are they sold as?
Was it?
Well, they're
They're off-
Pre-existing
residential, but they're
non-conforming.
exactly, they're pre-existing
In
non-conforming.
both,
yeah.
But that means that anything that they do has to go either to the ZBA or to, you know, to us to get a special
So
permit
some-
to.
if
So
somebody
it
wants
just,
to just make it a house.
They can do that.
yeah.
So, Craig Lauer, Main Street. I can't remember the last time I saw
It's extension.
the suit of armor outside the place. I think it was 7-Eleven perhaps, Main Street. Has it actually been a business for the last
Which,
5
which,
years?
so you talking about the Cracker Barrel or the Druid?
I don't know what the...
You talking about the red brick or the houses across the antique store? The 716.
713.
So right now, they're both pre-existing non-conforming. The Cracker Barrel, the red brick house on the corner, that is pre-existing non-conforming office, right? And when did Coldwell leave? A year ago?
You're thinking of I'm thinking of the other side.
Well, I was just gonna go through both of them.
Okay.
So I think is there an office in
They
there now?
have no, so they have at least a year left before
Yeah.
it becomes
Sure.
abandoned.
Yeah, and so once it becomes abandoned, then it becomes residential, and you can't go back.
I'm thinking of the place across the street, but not the lamp shop.
Yeah.
The one at the end of Wattaquatic, but not the lamp shop, just to the right. There's another building there. I think it might be red.
Yeah, the old antique, yeah.
Is that,
Yeah,
well,
the
so,
antique place.
I think last time we talked about that, we deemed the antique shop, that other house, which is vacant now, and the barn all one property. They're all, there's 3 houses on one lot.
Okay.
So we said that lot, I think it was determined, maybe I'm wrong, that lot is pre-existing non-conforming retail.
Well, the ZBA that weighed in, they issued a special permit maybe 10 years, probably more than 10 years ago.
So as long as the antique store stays in that one building, the other building is still retail, right? Is that correct?
That I don't know if that's correct.
I remember there being a discussion, are they separate or are they all one?
I'd have to go back and look, because
Yeah.
Mike Savage, our building inspector, weighed in on that, and I don't
Yeah, I
it
don't
was a couple
remember
years
that
ago
either.
now, I don't remember what he said.
Mhm.
It doesn't, it's a moot point, because both buildings are condemned, other than the.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, other than the antiques. So both the antiques could stay there forever, you know, until they leave, and then if nothing comes in within 2 years, then it becomes residential. So, yeah, let's just cross this off the list then.
Yeah.
You win.
I didn't win.
Yeah, just remember, it's not on this list yet,
What?
is once you have the results from the survey.
Yeah.
there's gonna be
I mean,
Right,
yeah.
right.
we
There's a
have-
lot of work
There's
still
a
to
big
be
chunk,
done.
there's a lot of work there.
Yeah, and without, our most important thing is the cottage overlay. We want that to pass. And
Well-
then we have marijuana, which has to be.
We have to have marijuana, otherwise our
Yeah.
moratorium expires and it's
Yeah, I
fair
know,
game.
yeah,
So,
sure.
Well, those are the two.
Yeah,
Well, not anywhere, but business limit,
Well,
business and industrial,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah, we lose any control that we might want in the bylaw.
I had nothing nefarious in my mind. I was just trying to make it a better property. That's it.
I think you're just trying to give more options, right?
I was just trying to give more options for the property. That's it. Wasn't trying to make it Route 9. I wasn't trying to, I was
That's
just
not a
thinking those
good
two,
unit.
those two
Well,
properties.
just look at Northborough,
Yeah,
Route 20.
yeah, well,
Just
that
to
wasn't
give you
my.
an examples of where we could
There's
go.
not,
Look at
there's not much
Stowe's-
for Wegmans.
My vision was a lot more Norman Rockwell.
But you also,
General
in
store.
Northborough,
I
they
know,
have a
and
much
that's
bigger
why-
right of
Yeah.
way.
I say
Yeah.
you've got to kill that
Well-
vision.
And you know what? But we can't talk. This is open meeting, right? We can't talk privately. We can't email. You know, we can't email privately. We have to discuss everything publicly. So.
I know, but on the Facebook open community, I'm the fly on the wall, and I'm reading these responses, and I'm like, this is all pie in the sky talk.
There's a lot of pie in the sky in this town.
And it's concerning because people buy into it,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah. But that's why we're discussed publicly, and
okay.
so just cross it off the list.
Have a good night.
You too, good night. Oh, can I make a motion to adjourn?
Second. Yeah, we're done, right? Yeah, motion to adjourn.
I'm
All
like,
in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Yeah, Danielle's out the door.
I'm like-
Leaving.
Danielle, can you just